name of the job, or Stephanie Stancheva, her expertise in the taxation economics, her social economics lab. And Stephanie, this paper, which I absolutely adore, with Nunn, Chenoy, and Sequeira, is zero-sum thinking and the roots of U.S. political differences. This goes to a static analysis. It goes to almost a mercantilist thinking, and an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. How do we get beyond our new vogue of zero-sum thinking?
That's a great question. And indeed, you're right to point out that what we show in the paper is that this zero-sum mentality, this feeling that if you get more, this means I must be getting less. That we live in a world which is a fixed pie. So if someone gets a larger slice of the pie, someone else must be getting a smaller one. This mindset has actually been increasing. You can see it in the US, in the fact that younger generation.
This is ridiculous. In some of my pre-dissertation work, I talked about the Nash equilibrium. All right. And how you have to come to the realization that the max gain for you may not necessarily be the best thing, one, for the system, but for you in the long term. So you have to reach something called the Nash equilibrium. So all she's doing is regurgitating the Nash equilibrium, which is not that revolutionary, not that of a new concept.
To think in zero-sum terms.
Right. Well, the thing, Stephanie, that I find so interesting here, it's the romance of getting back to the economics and political economics of Benjamin Friedman, or over at MIT, Simon Johnson, the recent Nobel Prize winner. But the thing to me is, what is the prescription to get back to the optimism we created out of the Atlantic Charter in 1941? Or is this what we have for the future, this zero-sum thinking?
Yeah, I want to be really cautious here, because we're not saying that zero-sum thinking is necessarily a bias, or it shouldn't be dismissed as just a bias. In the paper, we show that it's deeply correlated to people's experiences. People who have zero-sum experiences, including in their ancestry, are much more likely to hold this mindset than people who have had positive-sum experiences. So it's something that's deeply rooted in people's realities. And this is something that we have to think about very seriously. So when we think about policies themselves can make the world more zero-sum, or they can make the world less zero-sum. It's rare to find entirely win-win policies. But there are policies that lead us more in a win-win direction, especially over the longer term. Research shows, for instance, funding for children, like the child tax credit. These are things that over the long run sort of pay for themselves in better opportunities, in better economic outcomes for those families. Innovation policy is something that we think can create win-win solutions, and benefit more people. So there's policies that can turn the world, into a more positive direction.
Well, Stephanie, I mean, the premise of this zero-sum mindset is to believe that, resources are fixed, that the pie is fixed. It's not a balloon that's expanding. I mean, I was born in 1974, but I'm still a product of the 60s, free love, all that good stuff. So was Lisa from Leonia. But, the reality is this generation, the consequences of this zero-sum mindset, are they really that bad? Is it really breeding distrust, conflict, reduced cooperation, all of that?
So we can trace the link between zero-sum thinking and your policy views, if you want, and what you want to support. And one really important fact, which is pretty rare these days, is this is not a partisan issue. So zero-sum thinking is quite evenly spread across both files of the political spectrum. So it is not clearly a Democrat thing or a Republican thing. It's there on all sides. It's something that is more correlated with the more extreme ends of the political spectrum. And the type of policy that makes you support is, if you think the gains of rich people come at the expense of the poor, then you're going to support more redistribution, more progressive policies. If you think that the gains of immigrants come at the expense of non-immigrants, you're going to also be quite anti-immigrant, which goes to show it really cuts across partisan lines here. You're going to be more anti-free trade. You're going to want to support, policies that really benefit your in-group or your own group more.
Well, Stephanie, President Trump always talks about, this is good for America, but can also be good for trade partners of America, win-win situations, as it were. I mean, Is this zero sum mindset, I mean, is there such a thing as a win-win situation?
Yes, of course there
There
is.
are win-win situations, I think, it depends on the horizon we look at things. As I mentioned, there's policies which today might cost money, so someone has to pay today, but over the medium run, over the longer run, they create more benefits that can lift everyone. So it really depends on the horizon. And then I think it also depends on necessarily how narrowly we look at a situation. If I'm competing for a promotion at work, then in the immediate, this is zero sum.
Right.
If someone else gets the promotion, I won't get it. But maybe if I take a step back and think about how can we cooperate here, maybe there's a
Right.
way, to make everybody more productive here and the company do better. And then I could also benefit from this. So not saying every situation can be win-win. And again, zero-sum thinking is very rooted in people's realities because they have experienced zero-sum situations. But I think policy has a role to try to push us towards more win-win solutions.
Stephanie, I got time for one more quick question. You're having a cup of coffee with President Trump. You're having 2 scoops of ice cream for dessert with President Trump. What would you say to the president about slipping away from a neo-mercantilist policy?
Well, to highlight basically the findings, I think, of this research is really that we have to push towards more positive sum situations. And while that's not always possible, policy is a really, really powerful tool. So it shapes the world. It has shaped the world. You
And
can see
exactly,
these generations.
Harvard University economist, really just talking about Nash equilibriums, but she's using zero sum as a term. But the reality of the situation here is just that by having our trade renegotiated, creating taxation, it's not a zero sum. It's actually bringing economic clustering coming back to the United States. So we grow the pie, as she said, phrases it, or change the overall time horizon. The pie isn't fixed, that's for sure. It can shrink and it can grow, that's for sure. All right. Because if that wasn't the case, then we wouldn't have a growing economy. All right, we'd have a static economy. And that's not what's happening. The pie, it can grow. All right. But the thing is that when you have free trade, especially for the last 35 years, there has been a shift of manufacturing clustering out of the United States into other countries like Canada, like Mexico, like China. So you have to have policies that allow for a country that you're negotiating for to be vibrant. So it's not a zero-sum game, but the reality of the situation is by having that free trade agreement or having a better trade agreement, let's put it that way, a fair trade agreement, you're going to be bringing back economic clustering, helping the middle class. Also, you're helping the military apparatus to be able to sustain a war if you need to. And you're now shifting the country that was producing, like China, into consuming. They've been producing too much and not consuming enough. And they have domestic economy that sucks. Why? Because their consumer sucks. It's sucking wind. So by having this kind of tariff war that's happening in the interim, it's actually going to reach a Nash equilibrium. So of course it's not zero sum, but you don't. I think who was it? Nash was a mathematician that actually was hit by a car, and I think he died. Was he hit by a car? I think he was hit by a car when he was walking down the street. But I think it was called The Beautiful Mind. I think maybe Russell Crowe played him. He was a mathematician, and I think it was called The Beautiful Mind. This is years ago when the movie came out. But this concept that if you are trying to get all of the pie, what will happen is that the system will crash. You won't benefit, even though you think you are going to benefit. Now, what's interesting about her research that she's talking about is that, well, it's based on your past experiences. Well, that kind of is a bit, that's sort of common sense, right? you are through your experience. You're kind of hardwired, right? As you see life, you know, the first 20 years of your life, you're kind of hardwired and approaching people a certain way. Your behavior, are you going to be Machiavellian or not? You know, but the point here is that the pie does grow, and that in terms of tariffs, it's not a zero-sum game, and that if, especially when you look at it the long term, it's going to benefit both parties. It's going to benefit the United States in rebooting the manufacturing, and it's going to benefit the other countries that we're taking manufacturing away from, because it's going to start to increase their consumption, which is something that they've been delaying. All right, with that, let's listen to Mark Levin, because we need to have our blood pressure up.
Prime Minister, he obviously has a position on this. It appears that he's either threatening publicly Hamas to get them back to the negotiation table, or they're going to go all in on Gaza. Now, on the first point, there's already word out of Egypt and Qatar tonight that they're trying to pressure the Hamas leaders to continue negotiations so that this does not happen. Forecast it for us. What do you say?
First of all, I'm really proud of you for going in there like few others have, Bill, really reporting from there. I've been in Israel many times. I'll say a couple of things. Number one, there's always protests in Israel, always protests against Netanyahu in Israel, always in Tel Aviv or always in Jerusalem. Netanyahu decides to sneeze, they don't want him to sneeze. This man is underestimated. He's basically defeated Hezbollah with the United States. He's basically defeated the Iranians. He wants to take this Hamas group and eliminate it. Now, a couple of things. What you're also witnessing there is something that's never happened in world history. You're watching an army that is both trying to feed the people in a country or a state or a territory that they're at war with, and defeat their leadership. There's not another example of that ever, anywhere, certainly not by us. So of course it's complicated and difficult. Number two, their soldiers are on the line. When the Israelis, when they're feeding the population and fighting Hamas, their soldiers' lives are on the line. Number three, I'll bet you didn't see too many Arab countries with trucks and pallets and all the rest trying to feed the Palestinians there. It's mostly now the United States and Israel. The UN has been more of a problem than a help. Number four, as I listen to this, occupation of Gaza. It's a weird term. They're not going to occupy Gaza. They're going to, as they try and corner Hamas, they have to encircle Hamas. That would be like us saying we were occupying parts of Europe when we were fighting the Nazis. We weren't occupying Europe, but our military has to be there physically present, has to watch behind them, have to watch for any blitzkriegs, have to watch for all this stuff. So in order to protect your military, as you make gains, I guess technically you occupy these areas. They want nothing to do with governing Gaza. The Prime Minister told you that. What they're trying to do now is figure out how to destroy Hamas and get those hostages out. As for future negotiations, you had Steve Witkoff there, the President of the United States. They know exactly what was taking place in those negotiations. Witkoff himself has tried. Our president has tried. What exactly is there to negotiate? What exactly is left? Hamas is starving its own people. It's killing its people. It's killing Israelis. It is starving the hostages. And so Netanyahu, what's he supposed to do? Surrender and give up? Somebody in war has to win, and somebody in war has to lose. And Hamas has to lose. As for Qatar and Egypt working on this, Egypt borders Gaza. You'll notice there they have a very big wall that is fortified. They will not allow any of the Palestinians out. They will not allow them to leave. Obviously, Israel's not going to allow them into their country because they don't know if they're getting Hamas or what they're getting, which is very, very interesting because nobody puts pressure on Egypt. And the second point I would raise is who is providing food to these people? You don't see Saudi Arabia in there, but Qatar. Qatar's involved in negotiations. This would be the same Qatar that funded Hamas. This would be the same Qatar that gave safe haven to billionaires who are Hamas terrorists. And people should ask themselves, how is it that you have billionaires who are Hamas leaders? How is it that you have multimillionaires that are leaders of the Palestinian Authority when you have refugee camps or when you have other people who are hungry? How is that possible? Because they're mobsters, because they're corrupt. And I just wanted to point out, I think Netanyahu is underestimated the way Donald Trump is underestimated. About time people figure out that the guy kind of knows what he's doing and under very, very extremely difficult and stressful circumstances.
Yeah, Mark, good to have you here. Bill also asked the Prime Minister to respond to accusations that Israel's committing genocide. Here was his response.
We did something that no army in history ever did. We're supplying humanitarian food to the enemy's population because we distinguish between combatants and non-combatants. We put in 2 million tons of food. I mean, if we wanted to commit genocide, we wouldn't give 2 million tons of food to the population.
Reminds me of Mike Huckabee recently saying if Israel's attempting genocide, they're really, really bad at it. What was your response?
You know, it's very frustrating and upsetting to me because we know what genocide looks like. Genocide looks like what the communist Chinese are doing to the Uyghurs. Genocide looks like what Assad in Syria did to other Muslims. Genocide looks like what the Houthis are doing to other Muslims in Yemen. Genocide looks like what Hamas did to those Israelis on October 7th. Genocide looks like what the Islamists are doing to Christians in Africa. Israel doesn't practice genocide. Israel doesn't believe in genocide. If Israel wanted to blow Gaza off the face of the earth, despite what you see in those buildings, it could. It has the equipment to do it. If Israel was so interested in genocide, it wouldn't be moving, as you all reported, 1 million people to try and protect them and save them as they move further into Gaza to try and get these Hamas cockroaches and finally put an end to them. And so
What is interesting, and this was just by happenstance, what is interesting is that this video talking about needing to absolutely win, you know, one side has to win, the other side has to lose. So it's, you know, quote, a zero-sum game, right? Right. And the previous video talking about the Harvard research study about your personal experience will lead to a certain affinity towards reaching Nash equilibriums for negotiations or not. All right. Now, in terms of war, if you don't win and you just do ceasefires or kick the can down the road, it only will flare up and make it worse. So in terms of war, there has to be absolute capitulation. Now, that doesn't mean that the other side is completely removed from the earth. But when you have absolute capitulation, then you can set up the system where there can be mutual benefit, where the Nash equilibrium can take hold. But in terms of war, there has to be a victor. Because if you don't, you're just kicking the can down the road and making things worse. And as technology, military technology improves and lethality increases and the costs increase, that conducting a war down a future timeline is going to be more expensive and cause more damage and destruction. So it's better to just get it done. Don't kick the can down the road. Now, in terms of what Israel has been doing with the different zones, you know, for example, Gaza, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, the Northern Front. Israel has been kicking the can down the road for decades because of international pressure, and it hasn't solved the problem. So there has to be a victor. Either Israel loses or Israel wins. You can't just keep on kicking the can down the road. But it's interesting that this video happens to come up with what the professor at Harvard was saying about zero-sum game and how that may be applied to what's going on in the Middle East.
Ambassador Huckabee is 100% right. The world knows what genocide looks like. It's the Holocaust. It's what happened with Rwanda. It's what happens with Mao and Stalin and all the rest. And so for people to project that on top of a small democracy that's surrounded, that has done something, as the Prime Minister said, that no army has ever done. They're feeding the population as best as they can while they're under fire by the leadership that the population voted for. They're trying to feed the population while the UN is undermining them and working with Hamas, while Egypt won't let people out, while Jordan won't take any. They're 70% Palestinian. So here you have the Jewish state trying to feed the Palestinians, trying to liberate the Palestinians, trying to destroy Hamas, which attacked them unprovoked, which is killing their own people. And so now they're accused of genocide. I think that's about as sick as it gets, quite frankly.
Mark, thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much.
Mark Levin,
God
appreciate
bless
your
you.
reaction. Yeah, you bet.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons who always find the one approach that's
All right. Let's listen on to Live Now with Mamdani. The socialist, the communist, the one that's going to take down New York City.
New York City history, to the extent that he would actually have a conversation with the very president who is stealing food from the hungry, who is throwing New Yorkers and Americans from coast to coast off of their health care, and doing so all in service of yet another significant wealth transfer between those who do not have enough in their pocket to those who have more than they know what to do. We know that Andrew Cuomo will sell working people out for his interests, for the interests of the billionaires that support him, for the interests of Donald Trump, because all of those interests are lining up as one and the same. It is time for us to say enough. It is time for us to make clear that what this city deserves is a mayor who, when he sees Donald Trump attacking the people of this city, will stand up and fight back against that vision. Will not get on the phone with the architect of that vision to speak about a race that we already know should be a referendum on how to make the most expensive city in the United States of America affordable. Not a question of how we can install yet another ambassador for Washington, D.C. in City Hall. I am surrounded by New Yorkers for whom this cost is lived every single day, for whom this question and this decision to get on the phone with Donald Trump has a significant and tangible impact on their lives and the lives of those that they serve. And as we stand here at Federal Plaza, I do so knowing that it's just blocks from here where I got my citizenship, where I was sworn in as an American in this city that I was raised in, and knowing that if Donald Trump is to act upon his threats to denaturalize me, it will likely take place right at this plaza. The job of mayor is not to audition to be the jester for a want to be king. It is to be the person that stands.
This guy is going to destroy capitalism in New York City and turn New York into a living shithole just like London. But if he lied on his application, then his citizenship is null and voided.
Calling up Nadine Williamson from 1199 to share more with us as to the cost of this kind of a decision.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nadine Williamson. I am Senior Executive Vice President of 1199 SEIU, and I'm here on behalf of Yvonne Armstrong and Veronica Turner Biggs, proudly representing 400,000 healthcare workers who keep this city alive, literally keep this city alive. And today, we are not here to whisper, we are here to roar. let's be clear. We're putting the full muscle of the largest union in New York behind Zohran Mamdani, a candidate who didn't just enter this race, he ignited it. His campaign hasn't just caught fire, it's become a full-blown movement, a movement.
See the terms that she's using? I'm not even really paying attention to this. I'm just going back and forth and doing other things that are really important right now. But the thing is that she's using terms like fire, fight back, we're gonna rise up, we're gonna, these are inflammatory words that are reminiscent of BLM. Oh, wait a minute here. What's really going on? Socialism is in bed with BLM. They want people to protest and burn down the town to get this youth energized and think that they're really going to make a change. Think about all these socialistic bullshit events in the United States over the decades, going all the way back to the 60s, and I'm sure that it was happening even in the 20s. But the thing is that the whole Black Panther movement, rise up your fist and fight, and it's the union, and it's the same rhetoric, same bullshit rhetoric. Collectivism versus individualism. Now, would you prefer individualism or would you prefer collectivism? Now, the reality of the situation is there's a beautiful thing about individualism, and that is that there's an emergent property where the system reaches equilibrium. And now we were talking about Nash equilibrium at the beginning of the video. How it's important to realize that, if you have a system where individuals are trying to get maximum gains for themselves, right? And they don't pay attention to further time periods and their benefit, that it may hurt the system, it may hurt the individuals. So it's important that max benefit for an individual is not necessarily the max benefit for the individual in the future or the whole system. Case in point, let's say you're a lion in the jungle and you eat up all the animals. Do you think that your species is going to survive for very long if you eat up all the animals? Of course not. You have to have a healthy ecosystem that can rejuvenate, right? That's a perfect example. Now, in terms of civil liberties and the right to pursue happiness in the United States, that's an individualistic concept, not a collectivism concept. And then when individuals do that, pursue their own happiness within the confines of law and order and ethics, then the society flourishes. But if you have top-down government instead of just the emergent property of individual actions, then you're going to have a society that's less productive. Resources aren't going to be allocated in an efficient way. And you have people that are going to try to galvanize individuals, get them charged up, and then start to fight or riot against other types of people. Now, our Constitution in the United States is really predicated on a very simple concept. It's a constitutional republic, not a democracy. A democracy in its purest form would mean that you would have individuals voting. The majority could take the property rights away from individuals. But with a constitutional republic where property rights are protected, that can't happen. So we don't have a democracy. We have a constitutional republic that protects property rights. And that's what our founding fathers were debating and framed in the 1700s. But these collectivists want to tear that down. They don't want you to have property rights. They want to take away from you. They want to actually do, they want to do the opposite of what the Constitution is. They want to put maximum pressure and take away property. and redistribute that property to people who they think should get it. Now, that's the early stages of communism. All right, enough of Mamdani. Let's go to, let's see here. Let's go to CNBC about AI.
Imagine being able to build anything, for any reason, in any style, at any scale, just by.
CBC's got some new survey data that just reveals how many people are using and paying for AI platforms. I'm one of them, Steve Weissman. How many folks are doing this?
I'll get to that in a second, Andrew, and I got a question for you at the end of all this, but the overall Americans remain largely uncomfortable with artificial intelligence, but they're still using it in, I'll tease it, surprising numbers. 68% of the public in our nationwide survey of 1,000 say they're uncomfortable with AI, 31% comfortable. That's up 4 points from when we asked the question last in 2023, showing at least some progress. Just 1% say they're not sure. I found that interesting because it tells me average Americans have an opinion on this issue and they are aware of AI being out there. The lack of comfort stems with perhaps in part from worries about what it means for jobs. 72% say or are concerned it will eliminate jobs overall, compared with just 7% who think it will create jobs, 18% seeing no effect. Despite these fears, here's your answer, Andrew. Americans have not shied away from using AI. 53% of the public say they have used it in the past 2 or 3 months. 46% say they have not. That's a pretty big number, I would say, showing the nation may be divided politically, but it's equally divided by use of this new technology. Take a look here. 81% of salary workers say they have used it. That's 56% for hourly. 73% for 18 to 34-year-olds, just 25% of those who are 65 and older. Your income's over 100, 71%. Below 30,000, just 27%. Democrats 60, GOP 50. Not a big split right there. While the overall comfort level hasn't changed much, opinions about AI's usefulness have improved. 32% say now it makes their job easier, up from 21% in 2023. And that includes 45% of AI users who say it helps their work. 14% think it will replace them at their jobs, down from 18% 2 years ago. All right. Just how useful do Americans think it is? Is it useful enough to pay for it? Well, 10% say they're currently paying for it. That makes Andrew 1 out of 10. Another 15% say they consider paying for it. And right now, 74% say no. But the percentage jumps of those who would consider or are paying for it to 37% for those who use AI. So the revenue stream could increase as more Americans take a turn with the technology. And Andrew, the question I'll throw back to you is, a lot of this, how much revenue or profit comes from all this investment in AI depends on, is it a customer-facing revenue stream or is it a business-to-business one? And I don't know how much the bulk of the industry is really going to rely upon a revenue stream from individual customers.
It's a good question. I mean, the other question, though, is how many people are paying, for example, for services on Apple, right? Or services on Google.
And they get it inclusive, you're saying?
Yeah.
Does Apple music, like Steve, we're, as you said, people are dipping their toe here, and I feel a little bit better about how it works, but I'm not at a point where I'm going to start paying. And it's fine.
There's no way people are going to pay for it. No way.
The more powerful. I don't need the more powerful memory version.
You might
eventually.
And once you have it, you're like, oh my God, it's unbelievable.
I can feed all of the data from this survey, or pieces of it at least. It's a lot of data, the whole crosstab file, and I can ask it questions and it will respond. I mean, an easy question for this AI. I use Perplexity. Andrew's into ChatGPT. I can say, tell me how 18 to 34-year-olds differ from 65-year-olds. I can say, how much to 100,000, and that's the easy stuff. But it will do.
You don't pay, do you, Steve?
Complicated stuff.
You don't pay yet.
What's
you
that?
Pay yet? You don't pay yet, do you?
I pay.
You do pay.
I do.
And it's worth. You pay
It's
Perplexity.
incredibly useful for me, Joe.
Better than if you don't pay. Okay.
Well, it's better than if I don't pay. I can upload these big data files and ask it questions. And then, of course, I check it and I source it and I cite it. Can I just give you one example? You remember when SVB went down, Silicon Valley Bank?
Yeah.
I had a vague recollection in the back of my head that Congress in 2000.
My understanding is that you can do this also in Excel. You can load up a file and you can have the Copilot actually do some sort of an analysis on your different tabs on your worksheet. So if you have Office 365, you can do this, what he's talking about. Now, my understanding is Apple is going to also have that on their Numbers, which is their app that's similar to Excel, to be able to do analytical work. But most people do it in Office anyways. So I don't know. I don't think people are going to actually pay extra for some sort of AI plugin. It's probably going to be integrated into software that you are normally using, like Office. But what it does is it just speeds up the analytics.
That was around then, changed the law to how the Federal Reserve could guarantee deposits over 250,000. And I couldn't find it in my normal things. That's when I paid for it. I went to Perplexity or whatever, GetTR, and I asked it, how did Congress change the law in 2010? It came back with a citation to the law, a legal brief, and a news story that came back 1, 2, 3. And that was obviously an important question at the time. Did the Fed step in? And I used it then, and the way I've used it since then, and maybe not as smart as Andrew with it, but I'm getting there, and it helps. And Joe, I thought you would look at this more like poltergeist, like step into the light. In other words, tell us everything you know, and we'll make it useful for you, and then we'll replace you.
I'm more excited. Andrew right now is working on an app for me.
I'm building an app. Well, he asked me what kind of app. It's called the Kernan MSM Truth Reports. Truth Report. And what it's going to do every morning is it's going to sift through
mainstream
the big political news of the morning. And as I've asked it to, it's going to add comments on each story about how a conservative might think the story is wrong. I think that would be an app that he could sell.
It's got to basically get rid of 98% of what's generated most states as fact.
I don't know about that. But
I know you're having fun, Andrew, but this really worries me. This idea that people are turning to the chat engine to make judgments and then saying, look, Grok said it's right, or ChatGPT said it's right.
No, you should have you don't need the All-America survey anymore. You can write a program that does that for you now, Steve.
Oh, no, Joe, you're missing it. This is the key. So I went to a chat to one of these experts on artificial intelligence, and I said, can it help me search the spreadsheet? And I said, yeah, it can help me search the spreadsheet, but you're pretty good with spreadsheets. What ChatGPT will really do is once you write the article, it'll steal that data and give it back to you very quickly. It's kind of interesting the way the artificial intelligence is much better with the written word than it is with the data. Now, it's obviously useful with the data, but its ability to steal what I've already done, that's where it's really, really good.
Steve, the real question is when it's going to start to.
When any country sells more abroad than it buys from abroad, it has.
Steve, the real question is when it's going to start to prompt us. That's where I think it's the real shift in everything is going to be. Meaning, I was talking to somebody the other day who uses it for dieting, right? And it prompts them throughout the day. Now you eat. Now you eat this. Now you eat that. Now you don't eat. Now you okay. So that's like we can agree that maybe that's a reasonable thing to try to do. I guess I don't know. But once it starts to prompt you in other ways, you know, you should react to this person this way. You should do this instead of that. And whether at some point we become the robots that are prompted by this machine.
Yes, I had an immediate vision when you started talking about that of being in a capsule with a data cable in the back of my head, like in the Matrix. That's what it sounds like to me. Like what's the point? I don't know, Andrew. You've been much more willing over the years to submit your life and your lifestyle to what technology is with the
Yes.
watch around your wrist and
My
stuff like
watch
that.
and my
I don't
ring
wear
and my
watch.
this and my that.
Thing you weren't gonna travel anymore, you're just gonna wear those stupid things on your head.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna wear
Right.
the Apple,
Right, you don't need to go anywhere.
yeah.
Well, look at Positano's.
I still play an acoustic guitar and write my own songs, so, I'm not willing to put that.
You don't need to do that. You got a
you know.
program for that, my
But do
friend.
me a favor, guys. Could you ask Sam Altman about this data? Does it matter to him that it's only 25%? Or is that a good number, given how early? I know we got this.
I think it's an amazing, I'm thinking he's gonna say that's an amazing number.
All right, let's go back to Bloomberg here. No, I didn't even do, everything's, I've been so busy today. I didn't even introduce the show. Thank you for joining. My name is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and we are live streaming on YouTube, on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and on X Spaces. We're going to be doing a replay on the different channels. Make sure you subscribe to all the channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. All the links are in the description of this video and all my videos. You can follow me on X, GETTR. And another great way to help support the work is to go to my website and donate. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. All these videos are for free. You can also be a paid member to my Patreon. I don't put stuff behind a paywall. All these videos are for free. I tell you how to play the market, my opinion on what's going on in the news, or how to improve your health. There's lots of information I give you for free. So please help support the work by donating and purchasing the products, being a paid member to Patreon. For the ones that are international, watching the show, and you can't purchase the products, if you would like to help support the work that I do, please donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, or be a paid member to my Patreon channel. You can also listen to previous audio files on my website under broadcast. It's under radio, or you can watch the live stream. Great way to consume the content. So for the ones that would like to get the products, I have lots of different products. I have ebooks, I have course material on pulmonology and immunology that you can purchase, but also great supplements that I take to slow down the aging process and to improve my health. And some of those great products are Zeolite. Zeolite, it is a supplement that you take every day. Take 3 small drops underneath your tongue, drink it with filtered water, and it's going to detoxify your body. When you detoxify your body, you're helping your neurons, you're helping your endocrine system, you're helping your immune system. Now, Zeolite will remove heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. It'll bind to them and it'll allow you to urinate them out in about 6 to 8 hours. Take it every day. Now, some people prefer to take a heavier detox, and to do that, you take 10 small drops underneath your tongue, drink the filtered water, do that every day until the bottle's done. Do that once or twice a year. But the way that I prefer to do it is to do it every day, 3 small drops, and that way you're covering detoxifying your body on a regular basis. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Zeolite. It's also important that you clean your environment. Get rid of some of those chemicals that are in your home that may be disrupting your endocrine system and your immune system. If you have to have those types of chemicals and cleaning agents, put them in a double layered container. So you put it in a container and then put that in another container, and that way you're preventing the degassing. In addition, a great way to help with detoxifying your body is make sure that you stay away from processed foods, and make sure you filter your water and drink that water. Stay away from city water, all right? So those are some recommendations on how to improve your health and wellness. So please go to my store and get the Zeolite.
Including LA for Dallas. Let's get away from, Damien and I talking about New York, and let's consider Dallas. I believe Michael Dell tells us it's a boom economy in Dallas. Is the Class A, Class B, Class C skyscrapers in Dallas, have they cleared?
So I would say, in general, office, regardless of which city you're talking about, there's just such a tremendous bifurcation between, as you mentioned, that Class A sector versus the B and C assets. And so there's tremendous demand at that higher quality level that's ultimately going to make those assets succeed as office buildings. And then as you go down the quality spectrum, there's talk of, you know, repositioning those assets for other purposes, whether it's multifamily or hospitality or demolition. So it's going to be I think, kind of long evolving opportunity set within kind of reconstructing the office markets, regardless of which city you're talking about.
Robin, forget the Sun Belt. I mean, when I was in your Los Angeles offices, Avenue of Stars, by the way, beautiful offices, Tom. I want to talk about the gateway cities, specifically New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. I mean, New York's obviously been the most active CRE market, but the wildfires in LA, I mean, is LA recovering? What are you seeing on the ground there?
So we are seeing green shoots within Los Angeles. From, you know, a demand perspective, we do a lot within the multifamily space, and coming out of COVID, you know, California and the Los Angeles regulations in particular made it hard for owners and operators of multifamily to work through bad debt issues, and there were, you know, challenges with eviction moratoriums. All of that is passed at this point, and we are seeing improvements within apartment occupancy levels, absorption levels, you know, year-over-year rent growth, because there's been very little new supply within the gateway markets as opposed to what you've seen within the Sun Belt market. And at the same time, you've seen depressed pricing within the gateway market. So one of the things that's interesting within the multifamily sector, in particular within these gateway markets, is the ability to basically buy interesting assets on sale right now. So that's something that we're spending some time on.
Well, Robin, you and I both know that multifamily has an inherent advantage over other asset classes due to that Fannie Freddie backstop. But, you know, my question is, I mean, in June, I believe the National Association of Realtors said 40% of new home builders reduced their sale prices in the month of June. I mean, are you seeing any pressure there? I mean, what are you seeing the pockets of distress?
So, absolutely, I would say the single family space is showing challenges, but the single family affordability still remains very, very low because of the level of mortgage rates today. And so that value proposition of rent versus owning is in favor of renting. Absolutely. And so when you look at housing generally and what's attractive, it spans all of those different rental housing asset classes, whether it's multifamily or built for rent or manufactured housing and so on.
You know, Robin, I just heard that the price gap between buying and renting a home in the US rate for this time is $1,250 a month. And by the way, the median home price in the US now stands at, I mean, Robin, correct me, $435,000. I mean, how can anyone afford these prices?
It's, you know, for the folks who have the low cost mortgages that they were put into the, you know, put into the system several years ago, they're able to hold on. And for those who need to buy new homes, it's a huge challenge. And so it's that bifurcation that's ultimately underpinning huge demand drivers within the rental sector. You saw over the last 12 months extraordinary absorption of over 500,000 multifamily units, which is well above averages. So we think it just continues to support that rental demand in the long term, because as you point out, home prices remain very elevated in combination with mortgage rates.
Robin, I gotta ask this, and Damien brings up the social issues of our insane real estate business in America. Canyon Partners, what Josh Friedman's done there is extraordinary in terms of commercial real estate and philanthropy and all. When you guys are sitting around having a Sanka, a beverage, you're just using some undrinkable green latte. What's a thing, Lisa, you call it? Like
a dirty matcha.
A dirty matcha. Robin, when you're sitting around having a dirty matcha with the team there, how do we get out of this social disaster, which is our commercial and private real estate, our housing market?
So, you know, I think it's a combination of creative, affordable programs that cities and states can work to put in place that really incentivize developers and operators of real estate to to build more affordable housing. So I think it's got to be both a public and a private solution ultimately. And a lot of cities and states have very bespoke programs, so it's very much a local situation in terms of how it's going to get solved. The one thing that did occur in this latest tax bill was greater incentives on the low-income housing tax credit side. So that essentially doubled the capacity for LIHTC housing to get developed. But ultimately, you've got to have these public incentives come into play to incentivize the private capital to allocate time and resources to the space.
Brilliant. Don't be a stranger. Robin Potts, thank you so much. Kenyan Partners at Real Estate. They are centered mostly on
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver soaps. These are very high quality soaps. These are soaps that I use. Get a couple bars for your household, help support the work that I do, and help to support the health and wellness for your family. You can get it in peppermint, in lavender, and also I have structural nano silver soaps in charcoal tea tree and lemongrass. Get a few bars for your household, use discount 5, and you get $5 off any order. I also have very high quality deodorants. You can get it in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree, or in citrus. These are deodorants for males or females. You can use it to help to detoxify your body, and use it as a daily deodorant. So it's a dual purpose product. It has no baking soda, no aluminum. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas. This is a very high quality deodorant. You're not going to be able to buy anything better than this. So please go to my store, get a couple bars for your household, very high quality deodorants that are dual purpose. That's the important piece here. It helps to detoxify your body. There's many ways to detoxify your body. One great way is to use that zeolite and the deodorants and as a stack. Now, cleanse. Very important to take a teaspoon a day, swish it in your mouth, gargle 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then swallow it. Now, what will happen is that your oral cavity will improve and your oral pharynx will improve. You're improving the mucosal barrier, or improving the health of the epithelial lining, and you're boosting up your immune system. You get other additional benefits that you can read on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the cleanse. And it's really important to get vitamin C and magnesium and zinc. Now, you stack these together, it's synergistic. Now, why? Vitamin C will help with your skin. Vitamin C also, with magnesium, will help with your immune system, and magnesium will help with brain function. Magnesium and zinc also helps with the immune system, and magnesium helps with brain function. Now, what's important here is that by taking magnesium, you're also increasing the efficacy of vitamin D3. Now, by stacking these together, it's a powerful stack for brain function. Now, it's very important to focus on improving brain function. That means proper supplementation, detoxifying your body, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, learning new things, doing the different modalities of exercise, resistance training, cardiovascular, stretching, and balancing. Now, why is that? Now, why someone would say, why should I be doing 4 modalities for brain function? Well, there's 2 aspects to brain function: cognitive function and motor coordination. So if you're stimulating those muscles, either through resistance training or stretching or balancing, then you're helping your cerebellum. And you're also helping to strengthen the actual that electrical signal, that chemical signal through the nerve. So your neurons will improve. Take the proper supplementation and you're protecting those neurons and you're activating them, and they'll be more robust when you get into your geriatric years. And as you're aging slower because your different systems are performing better. So balancing and stretching are really important for that cerebellum to be activated. Now, it's also important that you have the supplementation to be able to strengthen that myelin sheath, reduce the stress in the neuron, help with the ATP creation by improving the mitochondrial health in the neuron, so that you can do that through supplementation. So it's really important to take the vitamin C, the magnesium and zinc, help with your skin, help with your immune system, and help with your brain function. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get these supplements. If you use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, guess what? You're going to get a free gift. And lastly, talking about brain function, Good Night Formula. Good Night Formula has tryptophan, melatonin, GABA, and passion flower. Now, what that does is it allows you to get into 3 to 5 cycles of REM and deep sleep. When you have regular sleep, good sleep, you're going to be well rested, you're going to be consolidating memory, and you're going to be detoxifying your body. If you are chronically sleep deprived, what's going to happen is that you're going to not detoxify your central nervous system. You're going to have a bunch of garbage that it's collecting, and your neurons won't be as healthy, and you won't be consolidating memory. And chronic sleep deprivation can lead to early onset of dementia. So a great stack is to take the Good Night Formula, the magnesium and zinc, and the vitamin C. That way you're getting the proper sleep and the consolidation of memory, you're boosting up your immune system, you're helping your skin, and you're improving your brain function. So please go to my store and get the great supplements that I offer and stack them the way I tell you to, so you get the max benefit, the synergistic aspects of the stack, and you are squeezing your dollars that you're spending on supplements with the max benefit. If you just take one type of supplement, you are getting a benefit from it, but you're not getting the synergistic benefits if you stack it with another type of supplement. So stack them the way I'm telling you to, and you're going to get more bang for your buck, and you're going to see a synergistic effect on your body. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
Our job is to get to know you, get to know your lifestyle, what do you do on a daily basis, and try to figure out what the best products.
Scott Bassett, Mr. Secretary, welcome back to Special Report.
Good to see you.
You know, on this day, obviously a lot of focus on what the tariffs will do. And there's been a lot of projection. Obviously, the Fed has not lowered rates yet, thinking that perhaps it is going to trip some inflation. You had the Walmart earnings call where they said we're positioned to manage the cost pressure from tariffs as well as or better than anyone, but even at the reduced levels, the higher tariffs will result in higher prices. You're saying no.
I am saying that thus far, we have not seen a transmission into prices. And if we do, it could be a one-time price adjustment. But what we are seeing thus far is the manufacturers are eating it. So the overseas companies has taken advantage of the U.S. for so long that the U.S. companies are shouldering a lot of the tariffs, and perhaps we'll see some price on the consumers. But overall, inflation has been very nascent. And as a matter of fact, 2 months ago, we saw inflation drop for the first time in 4 years.
Why do you think the Fed has chosen its path?
Look, I think that a couple of reasons. But I think a big part of it was somewhat a lack of logic, because on one side, they were saying, okay, we need to weigh risk management. We need to see if we're going to see inflation from the tariff. And again, it would not have been inflation. A one-time price adjustment is just like, does your driver's license cost more this year? Then on the other side, they lowered their economic projections for the year. So traditionally, when economic projections go down, interest rates go down. So now the market is pricing in a substantial probability of rate cuts over the coming months. And I would expect that the Fed will be following the market.
You know, as some of these tariffs go into effect, there are some people worried that other countries are going to get together to try to reduce the impact of what the U.S. is trying to do. For example, Reuters has this report that India and Brazil getting together, the two leaders speaking on the phone, saying there's going to be a state visit to India. And it occurred on this day that the conversation among BRICS group of countries tackling U.S. President Donald Trump's levies, the group of major emerging economies, also including China, Russia, and South Africa. In other words, the BRIC countries possibly trying to do something to counter what the U.S. is doing. Is there a worry at all about that?
Well, Brett, I think it's mostly performative. They can call each other, they can meet, but everyone wants access to the U.S. market. And what we've seen thus far was, other than a brief retaliation by China, there's been absolutely no retaliation. We have 18 important trading partners, and we have substantial deals with about 2/3 of them. And with India, President Trump has added a third facet to tariffs. Alexander Hamilton, who was the original tariff man, used tariffs for two reasons: one, to fund the government; two, to protect U.S. industry. And now President Trump is using tariffs as an instrument of foreign policy, and he is putting secondary tariff on India for buying Russian oil.
Right, and that is targeting India for an additional 25%. That gets it up to 50%. But what about the folks who are saying, why not do that to China? China arguably buys more Russian oil than India does.
Well, we already have a deal with China. India came to the table early, but they were pretty recalcitrant in the process. So there is no existing trade deal with India. And look, President Trump is keeping all his options open on the sanctions and the tariffs to stop this terrible war in Russia. President Trump is a president of peace. He wants to see this terrible conflict ended. And China tariffs could be on the table at some point.
How do you characterize the Chinese negotiations? You've been a big part of them in Geneva. There's a lot of facets to them. How would you tell somebody about where the state of the negotiations with China is?
Well, Brett, it's a very unique negotiation, because we go back to the negotiations in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even the early 2000s. Our trading partners, our largest trading partners, were our allies. And then up until the Berlin Wall came down, our largest military threat was from the Soviet Union, which was not a big economy. China is a special case because it is, in one country, our largest trading problem and the biggest military threat. So it's three-dimensional chess with the Chinese, as opposed to other countries, especially our allies, where it's more of a straight-up trade negotiation. And the Chinese are tough. We are tougher, I believe. President Trump has created a lot of leverage. He has a very good personal relationship with President Xi, which helps. But the Chinese don't get special favors, and they are a non-market-based economy, which is, over the long run, incompatible with pure free trade. We need fair trade with them. So this year, we have a 10% baseline tariff, a 20% fentanyl tariff, because they are providing the precursor drugs to fentanyl, and then about 20% tariffs from President Trump's first term. So over 50%.
And the TikTok deal and that decision is separate, you're saying?
Yeah.
Last thing, do you think you will have sustained 3% economic growth? And how necessary is that for the Trump economic agenda?
Brett, I am very excited about several aspects of the boom that I think we're about to see. We are going to see a CapEx boom. We have trillions of dollars coming into the country. Just yesterday, Tim Cook from Apple was in the Oval. He and Apple had committed $500 the, excuse me, 500 million in.
He is exactly right on this CapEx boom. That's capital expenditures, all right, for ones that don't know. And so what happens is that when you're doing these CapEx expenditures, right, these companies are investing, they're investing in the United States. That's going to that's going to create jobs. And then once the build out happens with this CapEx, that further economic activity is going to take place. So this is another nugget, another seed of this economic clustering that I've been talking about. When you bring jobs back and these companies are creating expenditures to grow their businesses, there's gonna be suppliers that are gonna be involved. There's gonna be secondary and tertiary businesses that are gonna be getting revenue from that activity and that economic cluster. And then you're gonna have a more vibrant economy.
CapEx, they added another, 500 billion. They added another 100 billion. So, a total of 600 billion. And we're seeing that from all kinds of companies. Micron Technology, a company with 130 billion market cap, is going to do 200 billion. So we are seeing the exact kind of reshoring that President Trump wanted to see. So from this tariff policy, we expect to take in hundreds of millions of dollars and to help pay down the debt and bring down this mess that we were left with. On the other side, we're seeing substantial reshoring, and I would expect that by the fourth quarter of this year, first, second quarter, that construction is going to begin, substantial job creation and expansion.
Mr. Secretary, we always appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support these free videos that I do for you guys. You can get the probiotic. This is a powdered version. You take it every day. You mix it with soft foods or with filtered water. I mix it with hummus. And taking a good probiotic, what that does is it's going to help to improve your gut biome. You're going to be able to absorb your nutrients better. Your metabolism will be better. The communication between your gut and your liver will be better. Your liver is a major detox organ. So if your liver is healthy, you're going to be able to detoxify your body better. But not just that, your liver does many things for you, produces proteins. It helps with processing sugars. And not just that, by having a good, healthy liver, your overall homeostasis for your body is going to improve. Now, with a good gut biome, you're also going to have better communication with your brain, and you're going to be able to sleep better. You're going to be able to concentrate better. You're going to have less brain fog. And with a good gut biome, you're going to improve your immune system. You're going to improve the mucosal lining will be thicker. The concentrations of IgA will improve. And that whole ecosystem within the gut will improve, and therefore your overall health will improve. You'll also see benefits like better skin, hair, and nails. So it's a dual purpose product. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this probiotic. I also have a veggie cap version that's out of stock. But take the probiotics that I have on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, use discount 5. Another great dual purpose product is the olive leaf extract. Olive leaf extract is going to bring down inflammation and also bring down LDL, help to bring down the LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. When you do that, you're improving your immune system and you're improving your cardiovascular system. So it's a dual purpose product. Clarity factor gets rid of that brain fog, allows you to concentrate, and it helps to support memory. Now, what clarity factor does is you're getting rid of that brain fog. You drink it with filtered water, and over time, you're going to have better neuroplasticity. your dendritic connections will improve. And you're going to be able to think faster. Your memory is better. You're going to be able to concentrate. You should be taking this every day. Even if you're in your 20s, you should be taking this every day. It's very important to take, all right? And like I said, you're going to start seeing people starting in the 40s. In the next within 5 years, you're going to start seeing people with memory problems. They're going to have a hard time to construct sentences or look for words or whatever. So proper supplementation and proper diet and exercise is going to be important to strengthen your brain function. So it's really important that you pay attention to me and you follow the protocol. It's going to work. You just have to be consistent. Get the clarity factor. And another great supplement, if you're 40 years of age or older, or if you're an athlete, no matter older or younger, Myotrol. Myotrol is going to help you build muscle. It helps with the gene expression to build and maintain muscle and help with mitochondrial health. So you have the ATP to maintain the muscle and build the muscle. Myotrol also stacks well with gladiator barley and Boomer Boost. Now, Myotrol has polyphenols, flavonoids, and lignans. They'll help to soak up those free radicals, bring down inflammation, and help with the gene expression for building muscle and maintaining muscle. When you get older, you'll notice that it's harder to maintain, build muscle, and you start to atrophy. So it's really important to take the proper supplementation and doing the exercises, some resistance training, some cardio, balancing, and stretching. And those modalities, with taking the proper supplementation, are going to improve your musculature. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get Myotrol. So a great stack to help with building muscle, Myotrol. To help with your brain function and concentration, clarity factor. To help with your immune system and your cardiovascular system, olive leaf extract. And to help with your gut biome, probiotic. So this stack right here is a powerful stack that's targeting many different systems. And when you do this on a regular basis, you're going to start seeing that your body is slowing down the aging process. And you're just going to have more vitality. So please go to my store, use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. Spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Now we're going to listen to John Bolton talking about Putin will take advantage of Trump.
Trying table games and over 44. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is admitting things are moving in the right direction, but far from a done deal.
What we have is a better understanding of the conditions under which Russia would be prepared to end the war. We now have to compare that to what the Ukrainians and our European allies, but the Ukrainians primarily, of course, are willing to accept. If we can get what the Ukrainians will accept and what the Russians will accept close enough, then I think there's the opportunity for the president to have a meeting that includes both Putin and Zelensky to try to close this thing out.
With us now, Ambassador John Bolton, National Security Advisor in the first Trump administration, former U.S. Ambassador to NATO. Mr. Ambassador, good to see you. Rubio now has the job you used to have, the job you had at the last Putin-Trump summit as National Security Advisor. It seems to me he's pretty clear-eyed about this. You agree?
Well, it looks to me like Steve Witkoff, Trump's personal envoy, came back from his meeting with Putin in Moscow with some kind of proposal, some kind of ideas from Putin. And I think Putin's going to try and take advantage of this one-on-one summit with Trump to advance his agenda, to put out, a Russian peace plan or a ceasefire plan or something like that, in order then to have Trump take it to Zelensky and see if Zelensky rejects it. This is posturing to see who can look like they're more interested in peace. I still think the parties are a long way apart.
There is this idea, right, that somebody is playing somebody here. Who is playing who depends on whether you are a Donald Trump fan or not. A White House official told ABC News that no location has been set and that President Putin must meet with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky for the meeting with Trump to occur, something the Kremlin has not been willing to commit to so far. That seems to me to be a much tougher position than Trump has taken with Putin in the past.
Well, I may have this wrong, but my understanding was the Putin-Zelensky meeting was to come after the Trump-Putin meeting. And I think there, what Putin will say is, sure, I'd be happy to meet with him, if the conditions are right. I think Putin wants this meeting with Trump for two reasons. One, it legitimizes him. This man has been a pariah since February of 2022, when Russia committed unprovoked aggression against Ukraine. Now he's getting a meeting with the president of the United States to stand next to each other as equals and has to offer up nothing in return. That is the meeting right there as far as Putin's concerned. But I think he also wants to pull Trump back into his orbit. As you were saying, who's playing whom depends on kind of how you evaluate this. But I do think Putin now understands he may have pushed Trump a little bit further than he intended or than he wanted, and he needs to roll him back in. And that is the second part of this summit from the Russian point of view.
So you agree that Putin may not have been put in his place, but he certainly is feeling a lot more pressure, and that he played his hand. I've always wondered about this. You have to do something in order to get a meeting line of thinking, and that was the line of thinking that was used to sort of knock President Trump and to criticize him for meeting with Kim Jong-un. And yet we all know that there was that one summit where Trump looked and said, Kim Jong-un's not ready to make a deal, I'm out. And if anything, Kim Jong-un became more isolated and more threatened. I'm still trying to figure out why there is such a hesitancy, a warning, I don't know what the right word is, but this idea that Putin must give up something and somehow having a meeting itself is a reward.
Because I think internationally people see it as Putin gaining face, that he doesn't deserve this. He hasn't done anything to deserve it. He's been killing civilians. His troops have been killing civilians. And we treat him just like Mr. Putin. And it's one thing for Neville Chamberlain to see Adolf Hitler at Munich before World War II breaks out. It's quite another to have a meeting after it breaks out.
You think about what you just said. I think it's really important to note how much more aggressive Putin has gotten against Ukraine over the past 6 months. We have a chart. Russia ramps up attacks on Ukraine since Trump took office is the dotted line you see there. And then it's like, wow. Now, part of that could be escalate to de-escalate. Part of that could be he thinks he's going to be forced to make a deal at some point. Therefore, he wants to gain as much ground as he can, on and on and on. But the flip side of your argument that somehow this legitimizes Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia, whether we like it or not, or the dictator or the strong man. He controls the world's largest or second largest nuclear arsenal. He is in a war with an American ally. At some point, you don't get to sort of choose perhaps who you meet with. At some point, doesn't Trump have to meet with people who may be unsavory to try and get a peace deal that I think everybody agrees is a good thing?
Well, there's a time and a place for everything, and this is not it. In fact, this is not a time to be pressing for Ukraine to meet with Russia either, because Russia's troops are still advancing. That's why Putin is so confident. I don't think Trump understands any of this, frankly. He said during the campaign this was a senseless war. He said, I think on Monday, that it was ridiculous war. So let's take the two sides, because these are the people he's going to have to deal with. Zelensky and the Ukrainian people, almost to a person, I think, believe that they are fighting for Ukrainian freedom and independence. Now, do we think that's senseless and ridiculous? Really? Certainly the Ukrainians don't. And on the Russian side, and I don't agree with the Russian position at all, but Vladimir Putin and a substantial number of Russians think that they are justifiably trying to recreate the Russian Empire. From their point of view, is that senseless and ridiculous? Again, I disagree with all of it, but it's not as dismissive as Trump has been of it. So Trump's getting into something he doesn't understand the gravity of it. He's precipitating this meeting because it'll be great press. I don't know where the meeting will be, but
you seem to think it's
surrounded by cameras and reporters. he'll be having the time of his life.
You see that the last time there was a meeting, you were there, Helsinki, I believe, for the Putin-Trump showdown. We have some pictures from when you were there. Have you seen? I've seen an arc, a real transition of how Trump looks at Vladimir Putin. He seems to be much more clear-eyed. He seems to be willing to be much more aggressive with him. You don't think that's changed Putin's position at all?
Well, I think
For most businesses, hiring can take a long time. Not for Susan, though. She uses ZipRecruiter to find quality candidates fast.
Well, I think Putin, as I say, I don't know whether he pierced the envelope intentionally or unintentionally, but I think he believes he should reel Trump back in and believes his KGB skills will do that. I think Trump is obviously displeased with Putin, but he's also been careful to say that he's not done with him yet, that I think he still hopes somehow that their friendship can be recreated, and like two good friends, they can resolve the war in Ukraine. I think that's completely unrealistic, but I do think that's where Trump comes out. I'm sure he'll have a few words to say to Putin to express his displeasure, but he still believes that fundamentally international relations are the personal relations between heads of state. And if he has a good personal relationship with a foreign leader, then U.S. relations with that state are good. And that is a gross oversimplification.
All right, Rob, I just want to get you on this. We saw that video of that meeting happening, that you were there. Does anything actually get done at these meetings? We always hear that things are agreed upon ahead of time, and this is just basically all for show, for lack of a better term. Could you have a meeting where there actually could be a real deal to be made?
Well, it's possible, but Trump's idea of a deal, as I think we've seen in many of the trade negotiations, is kind of a few headline pieces with details to be worked out later, which is why in the normal course of events, meetings between heads of state take place after the deal has largely been cut. Obviously under the direction of their respective leaders, but to bring the top people in at the beginning really is often nothing more than show. Now we'll see here, but I don't think that really we should expect anything substantive out of this, unless, as I believe and fear, the Russians will come with a peace plan, and Putin will say, Donald, you know how seriously I want peace. I've given this a great deal of thought. I've tried to write it down on this piece of paper. I hope you'll consider it seriously. Will you please show it to Zelensky and get his reaction, because I want to move forward here. And then Putin gives the paper to Trump. Trump takes it to Zelensky, and Zelensky says, here are the following 18 reasons why I won't accept it. Who's obstructing peace at that point?
Yeah, I was going to say Zelensky rips it up and says, yeah, but that may be a little bit more aggressive.
That's a possibility, and he'd probably be justified.
Yeah, if it's Putin's plan, he'd definitely be justified. And then whether or not Putin lives up to any deal. Mr. Ambassador, it's always good to see you, sir. Clear-eyed on this. We appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
Thank you.
Bolton never says anything positive about Trump. Never. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the turmeric. Turmeric will soak up free radicals, bring down inflammation. That's very important for your cardiovascular system. It's very important for your immune system and your overall somatic cells. Now, lignans, it's an antioxidant. It's going to soak up free radicals, bring down inflammation, and it's very important for your immune system and your endocrine system. Take it every day. And ashwagandha root helps to control your blood glucose levels and your cortisol levels. When you stack these together, they're synergistic, and it's going to help with your immune system and your cardiovascular health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 to take this stack. Very important. Take it every day. You're going to start noticing that your body is more robust. Now, no matter what the season is, you need to be prepared. So make sure at your household and at work you have lozenges and drops. I have honey and lemon drops, cherry, and also blueberry in stock. Get a few bags for your household or for work. You get 100 drops per bag. but the drops are smaller than regular lozenges. And I also have in stock the elderberry zinc lozenges. You can get 21 in each bag. Get a few bags for your household. And right when you have that irritation, no matter what the season is, mitigate it right away so you cut it at the pass. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lozenges and the drops. Also, I have structural nano silver toothpaste. Whitens your teeth, freshens your breath, helps with the health of your gum line, reduces inflammation at the gum line, and with good oral hygiene, you're helping your vascular system and your valvular system. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this structural nano silver toothpaste. Get a few tubes of this for your household. It's the best toothpaste that you're going to buy. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive than what you would normally get. This has no fluoride, very high quality. Please go to my store and get this very high quality toothpaste. Get a few tubes of it for your household. And lastly, the gels. I have it in a tube form and in the quick dispenser form. Have some at work, have some at home. You can use it as a daily skincare. You can use it as an aftershave. You can use it on a cut, an abrasion, or a minor burn. It'll help to heal. If you're not feeling well, or someone around you is not feeling well, and it's, that season, guess what? Put it on your hands, around your mouth, around your nose, around your eyes, around your ears, lightly coat your nostrils. It stays active for 5.5 hours. So it's a dual purpose product. Make sure you have this at home. You never know when you need it. And again, you can use it daily as a skincare. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the gels. Use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. Spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Let's talk about the redistricting in Texas.
If you want to build an app and have no idea how to code or where to start, check out Base 44. I built this daily hack.
Texas Democrats must return to the Lone Star State today or face serious consequences after they fled to boycott the redistricting vote. But some Democrats say they won't budge.
I will not return to Texas by tomorrow. This is much bigger than Texas. It's not an abdication of the job. Who's abdicated their job is Governor Abbott, who has put mid-decade redistricting ahead of the flood victims. We do not have a filibuster. We have the quorum break, and that's the tool that we're using.
Well, let me get this straight. If the census is with a bunch of illegal aliens, then the districting. See, the problem comes in is that there's redistricting in different states. Some of it's to the benefit of the Republicans, some of it's to the benefit of the Democrats. The problem comes in is that there's another underlying issue, and that is the census. Now, if the census is skewed because of illegal aliens, then you have to look at this whole remapping of the districts because it's based on the census. All right. So now the Democrats, they know this game. They know that their party is losing population. They know that these states, especially blue states, Texas is a red state or a, reddish state. The Democrats know that they have to play games with the census to be able to maintain power in Congress. So the bigger issue here is about the census and illegal immigration. But they should be doing their job. They should be doing their job, the Democrats, and vote in the state legislature. But no, they have to go run to Chicago, another liberal town. That's a total shithole.
It's totally legitimate.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joins us now. AG Paxton, will we see Texas Democrat lawmakers in handcuffs by the end of today?
I don't know. We're definitely waiting to see if they show up. We get, Dustin Burrows, our speaker, is giving them a deadline of showing up today. If they show up today, we're all happy. We can get our business done and everybody's good. If they do not show up, we will be in an Illinois courtroom trying to do just that. Not necessarily trying to handcuff them, but get them back to the state of Texas, hold them in contempt. And if they refuse to come, hopefully put them in jail.
And I've also heard you talking about taking them to court to potentially get these lawmakers removed from office. Is that still a possibility? And if so, how would that play out?
Well, it's never been done before. Obviously, we're in uncharted territory with the Democrats leaving during redistricting. Yes, that's something we're going to try today. We're going to file, if they are not there today, we're going to file a motion to remove some of these legislators from office. And over time, we'll keep adding more to it. But right now, we're just hoping they'll show up. If they don't, there's going to be a lot of action taken by my office today.
What's the process of filling those seats if they are declared vacant? Is it something that's done instantaneously? Do we need elections, votes? It seems like that would be a much longer term process.
Well, it could be. We don't even know how this process has never been done before. So we don't know exactly how this process is going to play out. We don't know what the Texas Supreme Court's going to do. We just know that Governor Abbott's filed his action, we filed ours, and we're just hoping for a good result so we can get this process started. And we're hoping just the fact that we're in that process of trying to remove them will encourage some of them. Because look, we don't need that many of them to come back. Just if you come back, we get a little momentum, whether it's through this action in Illinois or through this action to remove them. If they come back, we'll stop the actions.
Well, there have been 50 Democrats who have fled to other states who have ironically very much redistricted, and they're staying there right now. But are you saying that it's only a matter of time for Republicans to pass this legislation and redistrict?
Yes, we will get this done. This happened when I was in the House in 2003. They did it in 2021. This is the third time that I know of in the last 25 years that the Democrats have left. And they only leave for redistricting. And it's odd, as you say, they go to states that have been very much redistricted in a way that's not very fair. I think Illinois has, 3 Republican House members versus 14 Democrats in a state that went maybe 47% for Trump. So, and that's not obviously the only state. Massachusetts, I don't think, has a single Republican. So it's very ironic that they're complaining about Texas, which is much fairer than these other states that are completely unfair.
Well, let's say this does reach the point of jail and handcuffs and that kind of imagery. Are you concerned that the optics of the Democrats being arrested gives them a win in the court of public opinion?
No, I think in Texas, I don't know what it's like in other states, but I do know Texas, people expect their representatives to go to work. Go fight it out. If you disagree, you disagree. That's the process. The process is not to avoid showing up and being part of the fight. I think the fact that they have done that has already put them in a negative light at least in most minds in Texas.
Could there also be some ramifications that Republicans don't like if Democrats retaliate by redistricting alongside what Texas is doing? California is talking about trying to add 5 additional Democrat seats to California to sort of mitigate what Texas is doing. Other states like New York are also talking about this as well. How far does this go, and what's your reaction to that?
Look, every state has a right to do what's correct under their laws. I don't have any opinion as to whether California or New York should do it. I do know that most Democratic states have already done it. I mean, how can Massachusetts have 0 Republicans and get away with it? And yet they have. So many of the Democratic states have already done that. I don't think very many Republican states have done it. And so we have good reason for doing it in Texas. We've grown more than any other state over the last 5 years. Our population centers have moved and people are not adequately represented. So it does make sense for Texas to do it. California and New York may need to do it because they're losing representation. So they're losing people to states like Texas and Florida and Tennessee.
Well, this gambit by the Democrats in Chicago is being bankrolled by Beto O'Rourke. Of course, you have a probe into him to see if there's any illegality involved there. Keep us posted on that as well. Attorney General Ken Paxton, thank you for your time this morning. Today's a big day. We'll be watching.
Well,
hey, thank you. It is a big day.
I'm Steve Ducey.
The Democratic Party are mobsters. And when you use a little bit of the mobster tactics of the Democratic Party on themselves, then they have a hissy fit. But the Democratic Party, they don't play they don't play above board. They're mobsters. They act like mobsters. They always have been, going all the way back to the Civil War. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the most bioavailable form of CoQ10 that you can purchase. Most people that take ubiquinol, take CoQ10, they're taking the wrong type. All right, you want to take ubiquinol because it is the most bioavailable form. So if you have a bioavailable form of a supplement, that means that you're getting more of that benefit into your body. So please go to my store and get the ubiquinol. Now, ubiquinol is very important for your neurons, to protect your neurons. It's going to soak up free radicals. It's going to bring down less stress. It's going to bring down the stress in the cells. So it's going to help with the mitochondrial health, and your ATP is going to go up. Ubiquinol is super important for your mitochondria. So if you have been paying attention to me for a while, I keep on saying mitochondrial health, mitochondrial health, mitochondrial health, ATP, ATP. These are all very important to slow down the aging process. So get the ubiquinol. Digestive enzyme complex will help to break up carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids and reduce the load on your pancreas. If you're 40 years of age or older, you should be taking this. Very important. So you can absorb your nutrients with ease without putting too much stress on your pancreas. If you're an athlete, younger or older, taking digestive enzyme complex will help to break up your pre or post-workout fuel stores. So get the digestive enzyme complex, very high quality product. And resveratrol, I've been taking resveratrol for decades. It helps with youthful gene expression. It's an antioxidant, so it's going to soak up free radicals, and it's going to help the health of the mitochondria, so you'll have more ATP. Stacks really well with C60, NAD+, clarity factor, ubiquinol. So a great stack. Help with your pancreas, digestive enzyme complex. Ubiquinol, help with your neurons and boost up those energy levels, and it's a strong antioxidant. Resveratrol, strong antioxidant, and helps with youthful gene expression, gets rid of senescent cells. It's a powerful stack. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off the order. All right, let's go to. Let's go to Fox Business. Trump calls for modern census reform.
Every time I hit a bottleneck, I build a new AI employee to crush it. They used to say that I had one AI employee working for me 24/7, but the truth is I've got a team.
Welcome back. Well, the midterm elections now 14 months away. Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Whatley recently announced his bid to run in the North Carolina Senate race to replace Senator Tom Tillis, who is not seeking re-election. Whatley immediately gaining a key endorsement from President Trump, who wrote on Truth Social, Mike would make an unbelievable senator from North Carolina. He is fantastic at everything he does. So should Michael Whatley run for the Senate? Please let this notification represent my complete and total endorsement. He will never let you down, writes President Trump. Chairman now the man himself, Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Whatley. Mr. Chairman, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on entering this race.
Well, it's great to be with you, Maria. We're very excited. North Carolina needs a solid conservative voice in the Senate. President Trump needs an ally, and I'm very excited to be that guy.
So tell me about that. What can you do to make change, affect change in North Carolina?
Well, the biggest thing that we could do is have a solid, consistent, conservative voice there that's going to be fighting every day for every family, for every community across the state, making sure that we're going to have economic policies that are going to create jobs, that we're going to have trade policies that are going to help our manufacturers and our farmers, and that North Carolina is in a position to continue to lead our national security efforts with all of our military bases, our veterans and our military communities. We're in a position to really be the tip of the spear and helping make sure that America is the strongest country on the face of the earth.
And you're in a great position to really understand the backdrop here with your current job as chairman of the RNC. I know that the RNC is going to miss you once this race gets really heated up. But what's your take in terms of, broadly speaking, with the midterm elections? How are the Republicans faring?
Republicans are faring great right now because President Trump and the Republicans in the House and the Senate are delivering every day for Republicans, or for all voters really across the country. They are right now, we're seeing economic growth. We're seeing that the border has been secure. We're seeing that America is respected across the world again. The President Trump is delivering on every one of his campaign promises, and the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate are making sure that we are getting the votes that we need to get the Trump tax cuts done, and strong support for our soldiers and our veterans, as well as securing that southern border.
I mean, all at a time that the Democrats are seeing a void in leadership, voters have taken notice. A recent Quinnipiac poll put congressional Democrats at a 19% approval rating. 19%. 72% of voters disapproving of the job Democrats are doing, Mr. Chairman. What do you make of what's going on the other side?
Well, the Democrats have learned absolutely nothing coming out of 2024. They have doubled down on the same failed agenda that they ran on. They are right now a party of open borders, inflationary spending, and a weak America. Every single one of their leaders is turned to the left, and they are taking the party further away from Main Street America.
Well, I mean, all of this, as you've got Democrats fleeing their state in Texas, they've got to return to the Lone Star State today, or they will face consequences. They fled this week to boycott the redistricting vote. What do you make of this? The president said that the FBI may have to get involved now and arrest some of those runaway Democrats, as Greg Abbott has filed a lawsuit to remove state Democrat caucus chair Gene Wu from his seat. I spoke with Michigan Congresswoman Lisa McClain about it on Wednesday of this week. Here's what she said. What?
They don't want to govern. They want to stall. They want to play political games. But what I say is, isn't it sad that we're even having to talk about begging lawmakers to come back and do your job? Please come back and do your job. If that happened in the private sector, the employer would grant them their wish, and they would be out of the job. So get back to work, stop playing games, and let's govern if you truly care about democracy.
So I want to get your take on this redistricting issue, because now the president wants the Commerce Department to work on a new census. He wrote on Truth Social, it will be, quote, based on modern day facts and figures. And importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024, people who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. Mr. Chairman, how does that change things?
Well, this is a very important principle that President Trump fought on during his first term. And I think it's absolutely right for him to come back to this as a very important focus, that only American citizens should be voted or counted in the census and should be factored into apportionment for congressional representation.
And do you think that the redistricting going on in Texas is going to change and trigger other redistricting in other states? How does that change the makeup of seats for the GOP?
Well, look, it's not going to make a difference in a place like Massachusetts or Connecticut, who are already redistricted or who are already gerrymandered. The biggest factor in this election is going to be the fact that Republicans in the House and the Senate and President Trump are delivering every day for the American people, that our economy is back on track, that we have a secure border, and that America is strong again.
All right, we will leave it there. Michael, great to see you. We'll be watching the race.
Great. Thank you, Maria.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the nattokinase. Nattokinase will help to break up clots because it's fibrinolytic, and it's going to help to bring down LDL levels, increase your HDL levels. So it's going to improve your lipid profile. By improving your lipid profile, you're reducing the chances of plaque buildup. Vitamin K2 and vitamin D3 work together to help build bone density. You taking calcium or drink milk, right? Take a calcium supplement or drink milk, take vitamin D3 and K2 together and do resistance training, and you'll get denser bone. In addition, D3 improves if you take magnesium in your diet or through supplementation. There's an added benefit with D3 and K2, and it can help to pull out some of that calcium depositing around plaque in your vascular system and prevent further calcium depositing. So it's dual purpose. It's going to help with your bone density and your cardiovascular health. Stack it with the nattokinase, and it improves cardiovascular health even more. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use this stack help with your vascular system and help with your bone density. Super important. Also, vitamin B complex. If you're 40 years of age, to boost up those energy levels, take the vitamin B complex. Now, why does it work? The first 4 B vitamins will help with the electron transport chain, which is within the mitochondria. That will help to boost up those ATP levels that will increase the energy that your cells need. Vitamin B complex will help the cellular metabolism. And so that's going to slow down the aging process, and your cells are going to perform closer to when they were younger. And B12 helps with neural health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take the vitamin B complex, especially if you're 40 years of age. And omega-3. Omega-3 helps with cardiovascular health. It brings down systemic inflammation, and it helps to bring down those LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So you're reducing the chances of plaque formation. So a great way to improve your cellular metabolism and improve your energy levels. And to protect your neurons, take the vitamin B complex and stack it with the omega-3, and you're helping with your cardiovascular health too. It's a great way. And lastly, collagen. Collagen, it's a powder. You mix it with soft foods, filtered water, a smoothie, or even with milk. And by taking this every day, you're going to improve your skin, your nails, your hair. You're going to also improve your musculature, your bone density, the health of your joints, help with your cartilage. Very important. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen. It has a typical amino acid profile shown on the screen here. You can read the label on my website. Use discount 5 on any order. You get $5 off. And if you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last.
Your teams can adapt approved content with block templates and commercially safe AI.
There are 3 areas on a man's body that show he's likely got a hormone problem: chest fat, love handles, and a round gut.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us here today.
Okay, how you doing?
Was troubling news. I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Troubling news yesterday. I know I'm sure it hit you hard at the Pentagon, but pretty amazing actions taken as well by some of the men and women in uniform down there at Fort Stewart.
Well, no doubt, Will. I mean, praise God that all 5, we believe, will be okay. And commend the absolute courage of soldiers who acted in the moment. That's what we trained them to do. That's what they should do. That's what they did. And of course, we're going to throw the book at the perpetrator as we learn more for what was done there. But swift action and God's providence on those who survived this, and we'll investigate, get it done, and drive on.
Talking about the mission of those soldiers at Fort Stewart, I know one of your missions at the Pentagon is to make our soldiers, make our military tougher, to make it more rigorous, make it hard. And as part of that, you've make basic training great again. You're returning drill sergeants. Tell me, what is the shark attack? What are some of the things you're bringing back to basic training?
Well, it's the basic stuff that anyone who went through any form of basic training for decades understood. As a recruit, you were going into a crucible. You were going to be forged. You were going to be challenged. You were going to be scared, nervous, and anxious. And by coming through that, you were going to be forged an American warrior. A shark attack is when drill sergeants surround one particular enlistee, right? Creating a stressful situation that they have to figure out how to manage. Bed tossing inside barracks after you've had a long day doing, map out on the range or walking patrol. This is basic stuff. This is not, beyond what's been done. This is a restoration. So we're going to do 2 things really well. We're going to do the complex stuff really well. We're at the 200-day mark. In the last 100 days, we did Operation Midnight Hammer with precision. That's complex stuff that only the U.S. military can do. But we're also going to do the basic stuff well. If you start soft, you end soft. If you aren't strong from the beginning, you won't finish the fight properly. It starts at basic training. It starts at our military academies. We are going back to basics. Drill sergeants will be drill sergeants with knife hands who maintain good order and discipline and train up great recruits who will make great formations. Just like we need military officers with that same rigorous discipline and background. So we're going back to basics, and it's bearing fruit.
I'm not sure what a knife hand is. Is that what you're doing right
That's
now
it,
on
right here.
television?
Boom.
Giving me a knife hand?
Boom.
I'm very familiar with the knife hand point being made by the secretary. You're focusing on the basics, but you also said you're focusing on the big picture items as well. I know that when you came into office, President Trump tasked you with looking into our U.S. military's dependence on China and Chinese supplies of materials that are needed for our national defense. I know China has put a stranglehold on critical minerals. I think President Trump asked for significant advances from you by October. What's the update on our dependence from China?
Well, we've gotten after it for minute one. We will not be dependent on China. We won't be dependent on anybody else. The American military will be able to independently operate and operate decisively. We have to. And there's been neglect for decades. And President Trump has pointed out, to be the best, you can't depend on anyone else. But America first doesn't mean America alone. We'll stand alongside our allies, but we're going to be able to source our munitions, our minerals ourselves. So we're doing it already. And we've got the best equipment, the best capabilities in the world. We're on hyperdrive. The one big beautiful bill that was passed gives us $150 billion more to invest in Golden Dome, in hypersonics, in securing our border, in long-range drones. You name it, submarines, we're investing in it, and it'll be sourced in America. Our logistics train, where we get all the aspects of the things we make, has to be sourced here. We're doing it. Our allies and adversaries understand that, and that only makes us more independent, more able to put America first, to drive peace through strength, and it's happening every day.
Okay, I want to ask you about a couple of different items that are in the news cycle. The Reconciliation Monument. It has been returned to Arlington National Cemetery following its removal in 2023. This is a Confederate monument. Many suggest it was designed and put in place to symbolize the reconciliation after the Civil War. It was taken away, as I mentioned, several years ago. Why was it important for you to bring that back to Arlington National Cemetery?
Because we recognize our history, we don't erase it, Will. We don't follow the woke lemmings off the cliff that want to tear down statues. We look at and learn from our history, all aspects of it. And so Arlington deserves to have, and we're grateful to the state of Virginia for partnering with us. It wasn't easy. We fought to make it happen. And the Reconciliation Monument will return to Arlington where it belongs, to recognize the service of Americans of all chapters. So we're not tearing stuff down. We're done with that. We're putting statues back. We're putting paintings back. We're recognizing our history. We're restoring the names of bases as we've done across the country, because we're proud of our history. As difficult as it may have been in some chapters, we're going to teach it, we're going to live it, and we're going to fight for it.
Okay, you heard me mention at the top of the show, Mr. Secretary, today is National Purple Heart Day. We expect within the hour to be hearing from the president, 100 different veterans being honored today on National Purple Heart Day. Tell us about what we should expect to see from the White House.
You can't beat the gathering of folks you're going to see today. These are the best of the best in the country. This is a medal that goes all the way back to George Washington. You earn it for being killed or wounded in combat. These bringing folks of mine who served with me, who are Purple Heart recipients over at the Office of the Secretary of Defense, maybe soon to be Secretary of War. We'll see. Stand by, because that's what we do. We close with and destroy the enemy. And these Purple Heart recipients are going to be celebrated, as they should be, as we ought across the country in every civic manner possible. You see, we're putting the spotlight exactly where it belongs and where it should be, on those who give up everything, are willing to, for the country. We're proud of it. We give them everything they need. We're restoring the warrior ethos. And I think that's what you see from this. And you know what? We didn't even talk about the recruiting numbers, Will. I mean, in the last 100 days, meaning of the 200, we've set historic records. And that's because courageous young Americans want to do what previous generations did of those recipients who got the Purple Heart. They want to do tough, gritty things to defend freedom. These men and women have done it. We're going to celebrate them today. President Trump loves them, and they love him. It's a pretty cool thing that we're doing at the White House today.
It is very cool. It's very cool. Did I just hear you say, by the way, is that something we should expect? Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Department of Defense, Department of War?
Well, that's what it was for many, many years. You gave me that knife hand, Will. We'll see. Stand by. I don't get in front of the commander-in-chief on that. But our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what they will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total war. So we'll be prepared. Stand by. There might be some news on that.
Okay. All right. Thanks for teaching me what a knife hand is. It's a great way to make it. I've got to work on that. People say I do weird things with my hands. Now I have something new to do.
Get the Boomer Boost. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Boomer Boost. Why? Because it has 68 nutrients. You need these nutrients to slow down the aging process and to rev up your metabolism. Now, this will focus on multiple systems. It will focus on your heart, your vascular system, your brain function, your musculature, your energy levels, your metabolism will rev up. You're going to have more vitality. You're going to have a steady burn of energy throughout the day. If you want to lose weight, it's a great way to lose weight. You use this as your meal. Put it in some soft food like yogurt or hummus or a smoothie, and that would be your meal for breakfast or for lunch if you want to lose weight. But it's a great way to get the nutrients you need, even if you don't want to lose weight. It's a great way to get the nutrients you need to slow down the aging process, and you're gonna notice that you have a steady burn of energy. You're gonna have more vitality. You're gonna be more active, and by being more active, you're gonna want to work out, or you're gonna be moving around, and you're just gonna have more vitality. And over time, you're gonna start noticing that you're aging slower. Your hair is getting better, or your skin's improving. Your immune system will improve. Your endocrine system will go into homeostasis. These are all positive things for your body. So get the Boomer Boost. Take it every day. It's a powder. Mix it with soft foods, filtered water, milk, or even a smoothie. I mix it with soft foods. I mix it with hummus with for my lunch. Now, heirloom barley or gladiator barley. They're protein powders, high density. You can't get this in a regular store. So if you think that you're going to be able to get this at a regular store and just eat barley, no, this is a special type of barley. It's high density protein, and what the heirloom barley will do is help to detoxify your body, help to bring down inflammation. So when you bring down inflammation, you're helping your vascular system, you're helping your immune system. Even when you bring down inflammation at the cerebral level, you're helping your brain function. Now, also, it's going to help to soak up free radicals. By soaking up free radicals, you're reducing stress at the cellular level and at the tissue level. When you do that, guess what? Your organ systems perform better. Now, heirloom barley, take a scooper a day, mix it with soft foods. You can take it separately, but it works better when you take it with the Boomer Boost. You can help with your A1C levels, that's your blood glucose levels, and improve your health. Now, if you want to supercharge it even more, take the gladiator barley. Gladiator barley helps to build strength, detoxify your body, soak up those free radicals, and bring down inflammation. You'll recover quicker after your workout. And by working out and stacking it with the Boomer Boost, you're controlling your A1C levels even more. Now, this is my preferred stack to go to, but some people prefer not to do that, and they just want to take the heirloom barley and with the Boomer Boost. That's okay, but you get the max benefits if you do this, and you get even more benefit if you stack it with the Myotron for musculature. Now, some people don't want to build muscle. Okay, that's fine. A great way to do that is don't work out and just take the heirloom barley and take the Boomer Boost. Now, you do get a discount if you buy the Boomer Boost, if you buy the Longevity Boost box that I have on my store. And that way you get the Boomer Boost and your choice of heirloom barley or gladiator barley. Or you can take them separately. It's up to you, but you do get max benefits when you stack them together. And that's the whole point of the show, is to show you how to stack these to improve the efficacy of the supplements. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the Boomer Boost, get the barleys, very high quality, and you're going to notice that your energy levels are improved. You're improving it with your brain function. You're sleeping better. You don't have the brain fog. You have more vitality. And you're going to start noticing that you're slowing down the aging process. So please go to my store, use discount 5, and you get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift. Let's listen to Fox about Obama.
Texas Republicans are taking on the lawlessness of Texas Democrats on the run. The GOP is ready to vote on redrawing the state's congressional map. Out suing those Democrats who fled the state to try to block the vote. He says they abandoned their office and the people who voted for them. And developing now the Democrat plan to stay out of Texas until Republicans kill the plan to redistrict. So are they moving out forever? I'm Harris Faulkner. This is the Faulkner Focus. Now a look at the list of those Democrats who were no-shows for Tuesday's House session. It's long, 54 names, including the caucus chair, Jean Wu. Governor Abbott filed an emergency petition yesterday to remove Wu from his position. He calls him the ringleader of the derelict Democrats. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was with me, as you know, yesterday, and he has an ultimatum. Starting this Friday, any rogue lawmakers refusing to return to the House will be held accountable for vacating their office. If you don't show up to work, you get fired. AG Paxton, again in focus yesterday.
This is the third time I've seen it in my political career. I haven't seen the Democrats ever leave on any other issue, whether it was abortion, whatever we talked about, they would stay and fight. This is the only issue that they've ever cared enough about to leave. As ironic as it is, going to Illinois, probably the most gerrymandered state in the country, is so hypocritical. It's incredible.
DNC Chair Ken Martin on Fox this morning was defending Democrats after visiting with them in Illinois yesterday.
This isn't just some sort of stunt. I mean, this requires everyone at this point, not just Texas Dems, but people throughout this country, Governor Newsom, Governor Hochul, Governor Pritzker, other governors, members of Congress, and other elected officials who are standing up right now against this illegal power grab.
Look, this is a moment in Texas, obviously, but nationally as well in politics. Senator Tim Scott of the great state of South Carolina is on set with me today. He'll join in just a moment. The senior White House correspondent, Peter Ducey, though, with more on what the White House is weighing in with. Peter.
Harris, we had a chance to ask President Trump himself what he thinks about new Democratic plans to counter Republicans with new maps of their own.
Redrawing their congressional map will get you 5 safe red seats. Means that California, New York, Illinois, and Maryland are all going to redraw their maps to add safe.
Well, they'll do it anyway.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, they'll do it anyway. Why? If we stop over there, they would have done it anyway.
Eric Holder was one of Barack Obama's attorney generals. He's been working on redistricting for years. His group's website warns about maps being redrawn unfairly by election deniers. And Barack Obama himself is now saying we can't lose focus on what matters. Right now, Republicans in Texas are trying to gerrymander district lines to unfairly win 5 seats in next year's midterm elections. This is a power grab that undermines our democracy. But there is one president at a time. And the current one wants to do whatever is necessary to let Texas move forward with this new map that adds the 5 safe red seats.
Do you want the federal government and the FBI to help locate and arrest these Texas Democrats who have left the state?
Well, I think they've abandoned the state. Nobody's seen anything like it, even though they've done it twice before. And in a certain way, it almost looks like they've abandoned the state. It looks very bad. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Should the FBI get involved? Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to.
Vice President Vance is off to Indiana tomorrow to talk to Republicans there about possibly making a new map. Harris.
Peter, thank you very much. Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, also the chairman of the NRCC. Good to see you right now.
Thank you very much.
And always, look, this is now a larger scope issue, but I want to drill down just for a moment on Texas. Where are they in all of this, and why is this moment so contentious?
Well, they're on solid grounds where they are. That's what makes the movement so contentious. The Democrats are apoplectic about losing power. The Democrats have been doing gerrymandering for one purpose and one purpose only, to consolidate their power and their control, period. We're taking a page out of their playbook. When the New York Times says the Democrats don't have a...
Consolidate power, but I think that there needs to be also additional statement with that sentence. These states, they're losing population. New York's losing population. So it's going to affect the schools, the public schools. And it's going to affect the number of seats at the federal level, Democratic seats at the federal level for the House of Representatives. So this is the reason why they have to do this. And this is the reason why they want illegal immigration. This is the reason why they don't want to change the methodology of the census, because they've been gaming the system. The Democratic Party in general they are closer to thieves. They are closer to mobsters than actually representatives for their districts. They only care about themselves. They don't care about them. Not at all. Not even close. Not even close.
Stand up, I ought to tell you something, because this strategy is about power. And the fact of the matter is that we are going to do all that we can to make sure that we continue to work together with this working class coalition that elected President Trump to produce the results they want. It's how we keep the promises that we made, will be the promises that we kept on the campaign trail. This is the strategy that the Democrats have been using for decades.
It makes me think of another Democrat. Maybe you've heard of the man who said elections have consequences.
Yes.
That's kind of what you're saying, right?
100%.
Well, and Kim Paxton, the AG, who we just heard from, he was in the program yesterday, the AG for Texas, said Texas has had a boom in population. And so this is necessary. Like, in order for people in certain areas of the state to have the right representation, free representation, it's grown to more than 33 million people. So you have to accommodate for that.
1000%. Think about states like California and New York, they're bleeding people. Why? Socialism doesn't work. It looked like they want to try it again, but it doesn't work. So where are they going? They're going to places like Florida, South Carolina, and Texas. Obviously, you have an incredible increase in population. You want to make sure that you take advantage of the opportunity to redistrict so that no one person has too many people in that district. This is probably the most effective way of getting to the finish line and representing the constituents.
All right, we've seen critics call out the hypocrisy, just as the senator did, given where most of those Texas Democrats are hiding out right now. Take a look. Illinois congressional district map. Republicans accuse Governor J.B. Pritzker of gerrymandering the state, quote, to hell and back. I'm quoting them. The nonpartisan Princeton gerrymandering project gave Illinois 2 F grades, one on partisan fairness and the other on geographic integrity. All right, so it's not fair and it isn't ethical. Okay, that's what they said about their gerrymandering. Pritzker signed Illinois' redistricting map back in 2021. It left Republicans with only 3 of 17 seats in the entire state. An interesting makeup, given President Trump still took home nearly 44% of the state's popular vote last year. So even when they did all of that, it didn't help them win. Here's Governor Pritzker of Illinois on whether he would redraw the state again.
Everything's on the table. I mean, we got to fight fire with fire. They've frankly talked the rule book out, and they're just acting in an unconstitutional fashion. And what we're going to have to do is whatever it takes to preserve democracy.
Your reaction?
Well, JB, seriously, you're talking about preserving democracy when the president wins 44% of the state, and the Republicans only have 3 out of 17. That's less than 25% of the congressional districts have a majority red seat. Out of a state where the president did 44%, the numbers just don't add up. The math, it doesn't work. We're talking about the gerrymandering capital of the world, Illinois. Please stop talking.
All right, so one of the Texas Democrats, he fled the state with a shocking comparison that's drawn a lot of criticism.
We better have the courage to stand up, otherwise we will fall for anything. And in this country, we will be defeated, deported. I mean, we will lose all of our rights. And if you think it can't happen, it can. And I will liken this to the Holocaust. People are like, well, how did the Holocaust happen? How was somebody in a position to kill all them people? Well, good people remain silent. Or good people didn't realize that what happens to them can very soon happen to me or somebody I love.
John Lennon just sat there like a stone. I thought he was asleep at first because his eyes were down for so long. Look, why do we need to even compare this to anything? Millions of people, Jews, died in the Holocaust. We know We're intellectual beings. We know, we're sentient. We know that this has nothing to do with that. It's whataboutism. They're desperate.
Well, bottom line is simply this, making comparisons that have nothing to do with one another doesn't make it better, it makes it worse. Actually, people see through that, it's a veil. The truth of the matter is that they've lost their minds and they're losing their voters. As a result, they're looking for some way of holding on to the very little power they have. Think about what the Democrats have done to minority communities around the country. They have devastated minority communities. Why? They were more interested in the power than the progress of the very people they represent. That's why President Trump has this new working class coalition. Nearly 48% of Hispanic men voted for President Trump. 30+% of African American men voted for President Trump. Over 50% of Native Americans voted for President Trump. That means redistricting, as you see these states filled full of more people, they're going to redraw those maps so as to maximize the opportunity of the new citizens who say, free at last, free at last. They want to experience it, and President Trump is delivering. The Democrats are scared to death.
Yeah, and the Democrats also realize that they can't keep people in that state.
No.
I mean, they're sanctuary states. They're harboring the worst of the illegal immigrants. And so, yeah, they can't. And so they just want to get mad at Republicans for taking them away, but they're not. People are fleeing just like they did, although it's legal when the citizens.
They're voting with their feet because their vote in those states just didn't matter.
Wow. All right, you have a brand new book.
Yes.
Hold it up. One Nation, Always Under God, Profiles in Christian Courage. It's out now.
Yes.
Talk to me about why you wrote this book and what the biggest message is for people.
Well, too often today we're celebrating the wrong people doing the wrong things. My book, One Nation Always Under God, is about ordinary Americans who take an extraordinary stand because they felt in their hearts that God called them to do something. I think about Dorothea Dix, a woman who decided that she would change the state of the sane asylums at the time of her life. She, moved by God, went and visited place after place after place and came to one decision. I must change and bring dignity and respect to these institutions for the people. She changed the course of mental health and how we treat it in America today. You think about person after person after person in my book that talks about these profiles of Christians called by the Lord to do something significant in our amazing nation.
All right. It sounds like a wonderful read. And it's right on time.
And this is your copy. I haven't signed it to you yet.
Thank you.
You don't have to get yours at Amazon.com. Yours is right here before you, right now.
I love that. Thank you. God bless you. Your
Absolutely.
1 year anniversary.
Praise the Lord.
Congratulations.
Indeed, indeed.
All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on
All right, let's play France 24 about Trump and Putin's meeting.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
Well, for some insight into the latest developments, we can bring in Stefan Wolf, a professor of international security at the University of Birmingham. Good morning, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I want to start with this deadline that Trump gave Putin to avoid new sanctions. It looks like it's almost certainly going to be missed. Do you expect that Trump is going to take any action today, or is he just going to kick the can further down the road?
Well, I think it will depend on what will happen today. I would think it's quite possible that we'll see an announcement of a meeting, and that meeting will probably be enough for Trump to then say, okay, he's going to not implement the sanctions immediately. What we have also seen yesterday was that just after the meeting between Witkoff and Putin had ended, Trump actually put out another executive order in which he already imposed additional tariffs on India, which has been in its sight as one of the main Russian oil buyers. But even these tariffs will only come into effect in about 3 weeks' time. So there's still a window for Trump to make an announcement today, but actually delay the implementation of any additional sanctions by a couple of days, possibly until next week when a meeting, should it go ahead, actually happens with him and Putin.
Do you think that the threat of new sanctions and these tariffs already announced for India is going to have any effect on Putin?
Well, I mean, it seems that there has been some effect of this because I mean, Putin until now has been very clever in really trying to string Trump along and not really commit to anything. So the fact that they are actually managed to agree to a meeting next week, I mean, that doesn't tell us anything about the outcome of the meeting, anything about the agenda of the meeting, but it does seem that Putin is moving at least somewhat into the direction that Trump wants, which is to have a little bit more summit diplomacy, potentially subsequently also including President Zelensky of Ukraine.
Given that Russia and Ukraine are so wildly far apart in their demands, I mean, what could possibly come out of a meeting this early between Trump and Putin?
But that, I think, is the danger, that this meeting is actually in the end not really going to be about the war in Ukraine, but rather about the reset of relations between Russia and the United States, which is clearly something that has been on Trump's mind for a long time, even before he returned to the White House. At some point he gave an interview to Tucker Carlson in which he said that it was on his agenda to unite Russia and China, make a deal with Russia and bring Russia closer to the United States again. And Putin and his people have repeatedly said that they are interested in a reset of relations with the United States. So just having a meeting between Trump and Putin, which seems to be the Russian agenda here, might actually be a way for Putin to reset relations with Trump and then potentially hope that Trump will lean on Zelensky to make more concessions as part of a ceasefire or peace agreement.
That's certainly the fear of the Ukrainians, but Trump has been pretty volatile when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. I mean, he has been frustrated with Putin as of late. What's sort of guiding him in his choice of allegiances?
Well, that's very hard to tell. I mean, as you said, it's he's very volatile. You never know what you wake up in the morning in terms of what he has posted on Truth Social the night before. So I think at the moment his frustration with Putin is very palpable. He has been very irritated. That seems to have calmed down a little bit now. As you said that yesterday, great progress was made in the meeting. He seemed quite optimistic that actually negotiations can go back on track. And so far, he has not indicated that he will turn on Zelensky again. But at the same time, it is quite worrying that there is no talk of any proper negotiations at the moment that would, for example, involve European arms of Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Zelensky seems to be in a sort of a weakened position at home. Is that also a concern that could impact these talks?
Absolutely, and I think this is partly what also swayed Putin, that now might actually be a good time to partially re-engage in negotiations at the moment. Because Zelensky clearly weakened after the disastrous handling of the anti-corruption agencies over the last 10 days or so. And it gives, of course, again, more to Putin in his claims that actually Zelensky is not a legitimate leader, that there need to be elections in Ukraine, all of which, on the one hand, will further delay a ceasefire, let alone a peace agreement. But also what I think it does is it manages, again, or gives Putin more leverage to manage his relations with the United States above managing an end to the war in Ukraine.
And just briefly, how is what's happening on the battlefield impacting these negotiations to end the war?
I think it makes Putin much less concerned in terms of the urgency of it. I mean, at the moment, the Russians are still making gains, both on the ground, but also with their air campaign against, in particular, critical national infrastructure in Ukraine. So Putin on that front is clearly not under pressure. I mean, the pressure that he's experiencing right now is from the potential economic disruption if Trump really goes ahead this time and imposes his sanctions. On the longer term, if the new Western plans to support Ukraine militarily actually come off the ground, then Putin's war effort itself on the battlefield might be somewhat blunted. But this is probably still a couple of weeks, potentially months away.
All right, Stefan Wolf, thank you so much for your insights. We'll keep an eye on developments throughout the day. Again, that's Stefan Wolf, a professor of international security at the University of Birmingham.
Let's go to France 24 Live talking about the fires that are in France.
The sheer destruction still coming to light.
Well, that concludes this edition of Around the World. Thanks for joining us.
I didn't time it right with the segment. I apologize. Let's see. Let's go France fires.
Let's count the smiles.
Amazon Freight scales with you. Simple booking and 24/7 support. All powered by.
Thousands of people have been forced to flee villages in southwest France as huge wildfires continue to burn, the worst in 80 years. The French Prime Minister has described the scene as a catastrophe on an unprecedented scale. In the Aude region, close to the border with Spain, at least one woman has died and several others have been injured. In fact, across Europe so far this year, there have been close to 1,500 wildfires. That's 40% more than last year. The French government believes the increase is linked to global warming. Here's James Waterhouse.
When it comes to wildfires, the conditions in France's Aude region were described as ripe. Soaring temperatures with little rainfall have allowed these flames to take a firm grip. They chew through luscious landscapes and leave this. As emergency teams head in, you wonder where to start. There are fires everywhere. It's a disaster, says this firefighter. All the vineyards are burning in the area. Those vineyards usually act as natural barriers, but there are fewer of them now. Crews do what they can, on the ground or in the sky, but wildfires are not contained easily. All possible resources are on the way, says President Macron, for an operation it's feared could take days.
When I wanted to retrieve my belongings, I couldn't even get into my house. I had to leave. Now we're waiting to see the damage. That's how it is. It's fate.
Across Europe, the size of burnt areas is already twice the average, according to the EU. These French fires gradually took a hold overnight as people and professionals looked on helplessly.
I feel sad. I find it tragic to see so many fires since the beginning of summer. It's terrible for the wildlife, for the people who are losing everything. I find it really very sad.
Similar scenes in Tarifa, southern Spain, where a forest fire is ripping through the countryside. Tourists are being evacuated. 18,000 people live here. It's extreme weather conditions that can cause such intense, devastating heat. It's climate change that is making wildfires more common across Europe and beyond. James Waterhouse, BBC News.
Hello to you from
Coming up, yes, later this month, you can join us for live coverage from Jackson Hole. And we'll be on the ground in Wyoming covering the Kansas City Fed's annual meeting. Remarks from Jay Powell, Michael McKee just mentioned that. It all starts Wednesday, August 20th. Mark it down. Finishes it up with a special edition of Bloomberg Surveillance. Tom Keene, Lisa Bromwitz, Michael McKee, all part of that special starting at 9 a.m. Eastern on Friday. Plus, you can also watch for special episodes of the Odd Lot podcast. You have Joe Weisenthal, Tracy Alloway. They're going to be taping several conversations from that event as well. Stay tuned. We have much more ahead.
The only pants you'll want to wear this summer. Whether you're 50, 60, 70, or beyond, these are the comfiest pants that also keep you looking sharp.
For that, over a 4-year period, we came down to 8 youth murders a year. Of course, they're back above that now. Of course, stop and search was absolutely crucial with that. There's no question of that. And let's cut to the chase. The most important people to stop and search.
Massive protests are being seen across Israel right now after Israel's security cabinet approved a plan from the Prime Minister to expand its military operation in Gaza and take full control of Gaza City. Benjamin Netanyahu explained the objective of this escalation this way.
In order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance. That is not Hamas and not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel.
An Israeli source tells CNN that the goal is for the first phase of the plan to be complete by October 7th, the 2-year anniversary of the Hamas terror attacks that started this war, a deadline chosen intentionally for its symbolism. That plan will include the forced evacuation of about 1 million Palestinians from northern Gaza to the southern part of the enclave. The move is drawing criticism from around the globe as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza worsens by the hour. The families of the Israeli hostages released a statement calling the plan a colossal catastrophe, adding the only way to bring the hostages home is through a comprehensive deal, no more feudal war. CNN's Matthew Chance is in Jerusalem with much more on all of this. Matthew, what are you learning?
Well, first of all, Kate, it took more than 10 hours overnight here in Israel for the Security Cabinet to debate and finally agree on this idea, this strategy of conquering the whole of Gaza and establishing Israeli military control over vast areas where there are large numbers of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And the fact that it took so long to get to that point is a reflection of just how much division there is in the Israeli government, and by extension, how much division there is in the Israeli public about whether this is the right way forward or not. Certainly, it's something that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has been pushing hard for, but there are reservations, not least amongst the army and the military here in Israel, who have been enduring nearly 2 years of conflict now on various fronts, and it's a reserve-based army, and there's a sense of exhaustion and overstretch that the Israeli military has frequently complained about. The Palestinians, of course, tens of thousands of them who have already been killed, a humanitarian catastrophe, a hunger crisis unfolding in the Gaza Strip. More military action on the part of Israel is likely to compound that suffering. And so that's one of the reasons why there's been such international condemnation as well. But also the hostage families. There are still, I think, 50 people who are being held inside the Gaza Strip, who were taken hostage on October the 7th, 2023. 20 of them are still believed to be alive. And the hostage families, as well as the vast majority of Israelis, according to the most recent opinion polls, very much want an end to the war, an end to the fighting, a return to normality, and of course the return of those people back home. But there is one group of people inside Israel that want the military campaign to expand. They want it to be doubled down. And that's the sort of far right elements of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition, who have said they want to basically conquer Gaza. They said they want to establish Jewish settlements in Gaza as a way of destroying Hamas and retrieving the hostages that way. I mean, they're not the majority in the country, but they do hold significant cards in Benjamin Netanyahu's fragile coalition. If they withdrew their support, that coalition would fall. And so the fact that Netanyahu now is pushing for an extension of the conflict is again raising all these allegations inside Israel that this is a politically motivated move that is extending the war for his own political benefit to preserve his political coalition. And so it's into that sort of fractured environment that this decision to conquer the whole of Gaza has been taken.
Do you get the sense that this?
Our cars have always had great range and great dynamics. Then to integrate all the functionality that you have in a typical crossover is something that's super important. So the cargo space in the rear, the additional.
Do you get the sense that this is potentially a negotiating tactic to put pressure on Hamas, or do you think Israel will actually go through with this?
Well, it's a good question because unlike war games or simulation games, once this begins, everyone loses control over how it evolves. Meaning that if Hamas is undeterred by this supposed bluff, then Israel begins the evacuation of Gaza City and begins a even fuller military occupation. And there's no such thing as temporary occupation. This has been said correctly, and he's a veteran on these issues. This is going to go on for many, many years. And so what looks now is some kind of a cunning and sophisticated, savvy negotiating tactic is going to end up with Israel occupying Gaza. Now, you have to understand, kid, it's not as if Mr. Netanyahu has a plan to occupy Gaza. No, he has a plan to extend the war. He wants to prolong the war. He wants the war to go on. Occupation means you own the place. That means you take care of 2.3 million Palestinians. That means you take care of humanitarian aid. That means you take care of health services. That means that at some point you fold it correctly in imaginary him. There's going to be some kind of an alien spaceship is going to come, that's going to land, and out of it will come a civilian administration. Where is that coming from? There's no plan. This is a lot of bluster. But as I said, it begins as, okay, this is not serious. Maybe this is a negotiating ploy. Before you know it, this is going to go on for a long time. And I have to add, from a diplomatic dimension, Kim, it makes the U.S. look very silly here. It makes Trump's pledges and commitments look very hollow and ineffective. And it just goes back to vindicate all those who have said that Mr. Netanyahu is waging this war and protracting it just for political reasons rather than political objectives.
Right. So on that, I want to ask you, what role do you think President Trump may have played here? Do you think the Trump administration will have agreed to this or at least tacitly given the green light?
Yeah. But there are two ways of looking at that. I mean, the last statement that President Trump made on this issue was a few days ago, and he said, well, I think it's mostly up to Israel. And that was interpreted, as you said, as some kind of a green light. But here are the two ways of looking at it. One is Trump wants to break the impasse, and so he's saying to Israel, okay, let's see what you can do. What you haven't succeeded in doing for 22 months, almost 23 months, almost 2 years, you think you can do now, but you might get it. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. The second is that Trump is basically saying, I've had enough, plague on both your houses. I have other things to deal with. I'm meeting Putin next week on the issue of Ukraine. I have the tariffs to manage. I have domestic issues in America. I don't care, meaning that Israel will be left owning Gaza, and that green light is going to turn very sour and very burdened.
Well, yeah, especially, I mean, as you sort of touched on here, if you rule out both Hamas and especially the Palestinian Authority running Gaza, I mean, you ask the question, who exactly is supposed to govern some 2 million Palestinians, and why would Gazans accept them?
They won't. Yeah. They won't. Which is why Ben Wiedemann was absolutely on the money when he said this is a quagmire in the making. We're looking at a slow motion development of a quagmire. To put it for our viewers in context, in a little context, in 2 sentences. In late 2023, the Biden administration, and then again in 2024, they laid out a plan. It wasn't detailed, it wasn't full, it wasn't 100% thought out, but the idea was an interim Arab force made up of the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Saudis, and Emiratis, perhaps others, who will be invited to constitute a source of legitimacy, invited by the Palestinian Authority to provide interim government services in Gaza. Israel said no. Now, without the Palestinian Authority, as you just pointed out, these Arab countries will not set up any interim force, let alone invest the 70 or 80 billion dollars that are required for the reconstruction of Gaza. If you put aside Trump's fantasy and silly idea of turning Gaza into a Riviera or whatever that was in February. So right now we're just looking at the continuation of the war. And we're basically looking, look, what the chief of staff said, Tim, is not just that we're sacrificing the hostages. He basically said, we are going to control Gaza, and the IDF chief of staff, I'm not sure we're prepared for this. Do you understand, you gentlemen in the cabinet, do you understand the repercussions? Do you understand what all this means? The answer is probably not.
Really appreciate you getting you to break down all this for us. I don't think that's in Tel Aviv. Thank you so much.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support the work that I do. All these videos are for free. I give you a little bit of my perspective on the news. It's a great way to cursory understand the mosaic. And I also, on several videos, I go into the details of the market, but not today. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. C60 is the second pillar of my core protocol. Very potent antioxidant. By soaking up free radicals, your cells are going to have less stress, including your neurons. Soaking up free radicals are going to improve the mitochondrial health in the cell, so the ATP will increase. That means you'll have more energy. Soaking up free radicals at the vascular level is going to reduce the chances of LDL being oxidized. When you reduce the amount of LDL that's oxidized in the bloodstream, guess what? You have less plaque buildup. So by taking antioxidants, you're helping your vascular system. And you're also helping your neurons. You're helping your neurons by reducing the stress in the neuron. Soaking up those free radicals, you're improving the health of the myelin sheath. You're improving the mitochondrial health in the neuron. You need lots of mitochondria producing lots of ATP to produce neurotransmitters. And when you have that, then you have positive neuroplasticity. You'll be able to think better. You'll have better memory. You have better brain function. So it's super important. In addition, taking strong antioxidants like C60 is going to help with your immune system and your endocrine system. So it's a dual purpose supplement. You can get it in avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, or in MCT coconut oil. C60 is a 60 carbon molecule that will soak up free radicals at hundreds of times, if not 1,000 times more than vitamin C. Take a teaspoon a day, every day. Take it on an empty stomach for best absorption. If you work out, take it before your workout, and it's going to help soak up those free radicals that you're generating during your workout, and you'll recover quicker. Do it every day, and you're going to notice health benefits. And over a year period, because of the compound benefits, you're going to actually see that you're aging slower. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. Take it every day. Teaspoon a day, every day. With that, use discount 5 on any order, and you get $5 off. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Thank you for listening. Please help support the work that I do by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and getting the great supplements that I offer. If you'd like to help support my work by donating, you can donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. And you can be a paid member to my Patreon channel. All these videos are for free. So the ones that are donating and paying on Patreon, that's a means of supporting the free work that I do. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.